This program was recorded on Monday, July 21st, in the year of our Lord, 2014. The opinions expressed by the participants in the following program do not necessarily represent that of this station or its management. From the John DeVita Recording Studio, located in an undisclosed and clandestine location on the great northwest side of our fair city of Chicago, we once again are pleased to be presenting yet another edition of our monthly roundtable panel discussion show, Meet the Chicago Historians. Now, here's the guy who started it all, John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Rich. From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Meet the Chicago Historians on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, July the 21st, the year 2014. Today's panel will be talking about the history of our armed forces and, of course, much more. So sit back and enjoy Meet the Chicago Historians. And now to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Rich Lang.
Now here's our panel moderator, Jack Red Ryan.
Well, as Harry Truman said, this is where the buck passing stops. I can't throw it to anybody right now, right?
You could, but we'll throw it back.
They throw it back. It wouldn't stick, would it?
No, it wouldn't stick, no.
So, welcome everybody. As said before, we're recording this on the 21st of July. Official summer's a month old. We're in the middle of our summer monsoon. It hasn't rained today yet, has it, anyone?
No,
not
here.
No, I'm much closer to the equator. It didn't rain down there either. So,
I don't know.
In Garfield Ridge.
The equator is what, south of Garfield Boulevard, I think.
Yeah.
It may
have been gerrymandered into another ward, though, by now. I don't know. You can never tell. We were talking about that earlier. And as usual, we're a little bit light today. We're supposed to have some guests, now there's nobody here. So we'll all be our own guests today.
Nobody's here, huh?
Nobody here.
Melting, I'm melting.
Here but us chickens.
Do you blame them?
No.
I don't think they like us anymore.
No.
Well, they don't like you. They like me. But
Yeah, well, you got to take a shower once in a while, that's all.
Anyway, I do once a month, whether I need it or not.
You're right.
So anyway,
It rains out, you get twice a month.
as far as our roll call goes, let's.
There you go. That's what I use.
that-
Aqua for men.
Aqua for men.
Jack, I will present this to you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, you're supposed to take it out of the box, Chief.
Well, look at it sitting there.
You got to have the bomb
Never
squad
seemed
check
to
it
work
out.
very well.
Like people say, they have a lot of things in their medicine cabinet for their nosy people to come and visit and see what they got there. Supposedly,
That's the height of something.
it's good to have floss there because people think you floss all the time or something.
It's the same floss.
Just like what town in the area has the best teeth? Flossmore. So
Ba-dum-bum.
hey, that's my own. Boom. Starting a roll call to my right,
Yeah.
looking very very suave and debonair today.
Who?
You, sir?
Boner.
Suave and debonair.
Yeah, something like that.
Ken Little here from the fire department and also Wright College.
Yeah.
And to my right is one of my students who I kept repeatedly flunking every year, and he kept coming back. He never figured it out. But
Yeah, well, I'm a little slow in this situation.
no,
so.
you're not.
Yeah.
Hey, name's Al Opitz. I president of the former Austin Urban Community Council. Sort of dissipated and died.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And what else are you? Historical Society over there? Historical? Or no?
Hysterical.
Historical Society?
No, we have a cemetery, as such, called the Reed Dunning Memorial Park over there on Nina and Belle Plain, and it's about 3 acres, which is a memorial to the 15 acres or so of graves that were there at one time. So you got a few houses that are buried or are on top of old grave sites and stuff like that. So if anybody who talks about ghosts, it may be a few of them coming up to say, "Get off my grave."
No.
But it's the way things go.
And you're also chemical engineer?
Not anymore. I gave that up. I gave it up for a lost cause because it's too much work.
Oh.
I decided to retire.
You did all that work getting that degree, and then you gave it up?
Well, it's the way things go.
I mean, you can retire, but you still got the degree, right?
Yeah, I still got a degree.
Yeah.
I haven't used it for a while. But I used to design cell towers for telephone
What are they?
cells.
Oh, no kidding.
What are they?
That's interesting.
Cell towers.
Cell towers.
Cell towers.
For your cell
For
phones.
cell phones.
Oh, those.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was
I have to
fun.
get me one of these days.
Yeah.
Eh,
You got a big backyard.
Put it in your backyard.
I'm in the phone.
yeah,
Yeah, what did it sell for?
Yeah,
I like that.
it's
Very
always fun
selfish.
when you get a cellular wind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you start building over again.
Whoops.
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 Next up, Rich, sir.
Yes, I'm Rich Lang, another student of Ken Little's from Wright College, the class on Chicago history. I'm your announcer, and I've done some teaching, and I work with history on an amateur level, Chicago and neighborhood history especially.
And I was going to say, and you've had a number of shows where you exhibit interest in local lore neighborhoods.
Right, and I'm involved in a group that
that's
does old-time radio shows.
Old time, yeah, and
That's
it's a lot of fun too.
Yeah,
Reminiscing,
very much
really.
fun.
Yeah.
What have you done, like recreations of old shows? Like
Yeah, we
those?
have a sound effects table, speakers at mics. We read from scripts.
What's the name of your group?
The Norwich, those were the days radio players.
Was that from Chuck Shaden's?
Yes,
dating back to
yes,
those
he
days?
originally guided
Yeah.
us and sponsored
And they're still
us.
on every Saturday with, what's the man's name now? I can't think of his name.
Steve
Darnell.
Darnell, yeah.
Steve Darnell.
Yeah, I was listening to him last week.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good show.
He's taken over the reins very well.
That's there must be a wealth of old programs out there. Just
Oh,
for
are
the-
there?
I know
Yeah.
John does quite a bit of that, and with his radio here, John DeVitt,
Yeah.
our mentor, right, John?
The other thing,
Yes.
the other thing Rich used to be was president of the old Irving Park Historical Society,
Yes.
or Hysterical Society,
For
whatever
many
case it was.
years, and you
Neighborhood
did an excellent job.
involvement,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
and you're
you.
still
Thank you so
active.
much.
You're still
Right.
active.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And the
And
sister.
to my right is
And I'm John Escacholco, and I was in government for many years with the state and with my town, and history major, do a lot of public speaking, and from time to time do some political commentary on the air, and an alumni of the old WJJG.
An alumnus.
We are all
Alumnus.
We're all
Hey, wake up
Alumni
over
is,
there.
alumni is plural. Now it's
We
getting
are
into Latin now,
alumni.
remember? Yeah.
We are alumni.
We are, but you
Yeah,
are an alumnus, and I am an alumnus
Yeah.
of something.
Yeah.
You know.
and John does some great impressions too.
Will you say something in
people-
alumnus to us? Oh, that's a language, isn't it?
Yes. Well, one moment,
Latin.
John.
Okay, the sister station, the WRHS 89.7, is WRWX, and that is 100% of the old time radio shows. It's 88.1 on the FM dial. That's our sister
Is
station.
that in
It
where?
is come out of the same studios out of Ridgewood. We got actually got 3 radio stations over there, but WRWX is 88.1, and that's 100% old time radio shows
all
Thank
the
you,
time?
John.
all the time, 24 hours. Yeah,
24 hours.
yeah. Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
John,
I'll have to find it.
John Kishelko, back to you.
Yes,
You do impressions?
I certainly do.
For a radio audience, can you do Marcel Marceau?
That's always a difficult one. It's hard. It's hard to convey the timbre of his voice. You know, he had that very distinctive voice.
He's the only one that said anything in that Mel Brooks movie,
It's kind of like Harpo Marx. You can-
silent movie. He said no on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
The only one that said anything.
I used to listen to his records all the time.
Yeah. Got to listen closely, right?
You know what? Any kid now listening to this
They have no idea what
wouldn't-
the hell we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They would not
Yeah.
know anything.
Yeah.
Actually, vinyls are coming back in style again now.
That's true.
At a
Yeah.
very heavy price too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't look at the
Not at
prices.
estate sales, though. They're still.
yeah, you're
Oh,
right.
there's quite a
Right,
few
you
around.
don't know what you find there.
Well, you know.
The 78s are more difficult to find because they're usually made out of shellac, and they used to break quite
Yeah,
readily.
yeah.
Oh.
You put on the new player, they'd crack just falling off the.
Yeah.
Off the spindle, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember all
What
those.
else is up, John? Anything we should know?
Well, I think that about sums it up. That
How's
about,
things
that
in your
about
town
wraps
these
it up.
days?
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Everything's
Good,
going
glad to
quite
hear it.
well.
And how's the garden?
How's the
I've
garden
had
grow?
like Thomas Jefferson. I've had an opportunity to spend a great deal of time in my garden. Jefferson once, when he was well advanced in age, he said, "I am an old man but a young gardener."
Oh, very good.
He was
Very
also a redhead,
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes,
as
he
was
Famous.
Stan Laurel, whose real name was Jefferson, his last name. So I wonder were they related?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. know
Arthur
that.
Stanley Jefferson was his birth name.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you see Adams?
Well, Ollie.
Hey.
Ginger
Yeah.
Rogers was a redhead.
She was.
Yeah.
Ginger Rogers was a redhead.
A
You
real
see her on
redhead?
TV, you assume she's blonde because
Right.
it looks
Yeah,
blonde
she looks blonde.
on the
yeah.
black and white film, but she was actually a redhead.
I think Red
Yeah.
Skelton was a redhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucille Ball wasn't really a
Possibility.
redhead, too.
Possibility.
She
Was
wasn't.
not. No.
No.
She decided to be
Also,
one all of a sudden.
Lucy, no, Lucy was not a natural
No,
redhead.
no.
No.
I think you're right.
No, she was a
Arthur
beautiful
Godfrey
lady.
was a redhead.
Yeah.
When
Arthur
The old
Godfrey,
red.
yeah.
when there were, when they found out when she was at the height of her popularity, they found out that her grandfather had been a communist. And
Oh, he was a red.
Lucy had registered when she was like 18. She had registered as a communist
Oh, my God.
because her grandfather had asked her to do it.
Sure.
Her explanation was she knew nothing about politics. Her
No.
grandfather asked her. She one party. And it was in danger of ruining her career. And Desi Arnaz saved it when he said, "The only thing red about Lucy is her hair, and even that's not legitimate."
He said it. Very good, does he? He was a sharp guy. Sharp.
It turned
Yeah.
out, yeah, he
Yeah.
was.
He was a sharp businessman, you know that.
Yeah.
Behind the group.
Yeah.
Trouble is Lucy and Desi didn't get along too well after a while.
Well, Desi, I think he
Yeah,
liked the
I
younger
think-
women too, you know. So.
What's
Hey,
the sir-
they were-
he had a roving eye.
Yeah.
as they used
Yeah,
to say.
but
Yeah.
you know, they've
The eye
been
is one
married a
thing.
long time though.
Well, they were together
before they
quite
had
a while.
children.
They were,
You know,
yeah.
At least on paper.
One of the reasons that she insisted on him being on the show with her is she wanted to keep an eye on him. She wanted him close by
Wanted him
because she
close.
knew that if she was doing this TV show out on the West Coast and he was in New York with his band, that was not going to
It
work.
was not going to work.
No.
Yeah.
He was a very good straight man
I think
for her
that whole
too.
thing is inherent in
Yeah.
those Hollywood people and entertainment people.
That's one of the bad.
So much opportunity.
Well, they both got
the-
different.
That's a good man.
Hollywood
different
people
careers.
don't
Yeah.
know what the hell real world is.
Yeah.
But there were some in that generation that had long-lasting marriages. Like Jimmy Stewart,
Oh, look at this
George
Jimmy
Burns, and
Gardner.
Gracie Allen.
yeah, I was gonna
Our,
say
our
that.
hero
Yeah.
that's just died.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Our hero that's just died, James Gardner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He was married.
48 years.
Robert
58
Mitchum
years,
had a
something.
long, you know.
Yeah.
Is that right? I
Yeah.
don't know much about Robert
Yeah,
Mitchum.
someone said to him, "How can you stay married to the same woman for 56 years?" He says, "Put it down to lack of imagination or something." like that. Yeah. Okay, next up, and last but and not the least, of course,
Who?
Yeah, that's
William
me.
Kugelman.
That's me. I spent 46 years in the Chicago Fire Department and retired.
Can't hold on a
and,
job, huh?
went to work as the president of the union and of Local 2, Chicago Firefighters Union, and very proud of everything that I've had there. Our program today is on the armed services.
Yeah.
And very proud of what I did in there too.
Yeah.
So very
In the-
said in
You in
old
the Army?
age. In the Army. In
As
the Army.
what
Army, grunt.
specialty or anything?
Yeah, I'll talk about that later.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we should. Yeah, good thought. Yeah, we might run out of things to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Because we're wondering what you do, Jack.
What do I
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Myself. Well, no, I had. I only had one full-time job. 34 years with the Chicago Police, and it was quite an experience.
What was the
itself.
full-time job?
Well, it was full-time. Yeah.
Oh, it was full-time.
Yeah, it was full-time, yeah.
Full-time.
Okay,
I
yeah.
didn't know cops worked full time.
Yeah.
You what now? I'm sorry.
I'll poke him if you want.
I'm sorry.
If he gets out of line, I'll give him an elbow. You know.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was some experience, and I hope to commit it to paper one day. Of course, how can you? They'll probably commit me before I get that done, but somebody will. Anyway, so that's our panel, and I might add that Ken Little and Bill Kugelman are charter members of this show, going back how many years now? Was that on WJJG,
Oh,
Joe Gentile
boy.
Station?
To Cop Talk.
Cop
Cop
talk.
Cop
Oh, come on,
Cop
spit it out.
talk.
Come on.
Yes, and we are both members of the Fire Museum of Greater Chicago.
Yes.
And what's going on there? Anything we should know about?
Well, we are trying to get the second floor done. Our lease has been extended, so we'll be around for a while. And we've just got a lot of stuff in storage
Yeah.
that we don't want to expose to the weather.
Yes.
And we need younger people.
Yeah.
We need some young guys and gals, whatever, to come forward and get interested in this, so that time goes by. We're not here forever.
We're all gonna wither
Carry
away.
on. Gotta carry on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I know there's a certain type of person. Usually they're very historical minded anyway. That get into something like that. It's preservation and
they have to have an interest.
right. That's
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
I
just
mean,
can't
how
put
many
somebody
people
else.
we've all known? You say, "Oh, look, that's a so and so building over there." So,
Yeah.
so what? What's that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, or
Yeah.
whatever it might
Oh
be.
yeah, and there's
the problem is kids really don't understand history until they get older, and then they can't do anything about history.
Well, they don't get taught history in school either.
Yeah.
They don't get taught
just
When
much.
haven't done that.
I was in, John, you could probably amplify it. Were you ever taught Chicago history at all? Like when you were in
Well,
high
of course,
school?
I didn't go through the Chicago. I was in Cicero's, so they.
Yeah.
But I can remember as a kid reading a book. They had a book in the library in the school library about Chicago history. I remember when I was in the third or fourth grade reading this book that I took out with all about John Kinsey and DuSable and the.
Oh, I
Fort-
know the
Fort
book. It only
Dearborn.
went to 1887. But
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was written. I think it may have been written in
it's a
Latin.
joke,
as a
but
matter of
that's
fact.
okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I learned Chicago history by reading about it, but no, it wasn't taught in school.
No,
Well,
no,
it's
and I
not
never
even
had it.
Chicago history.
No,
It's
there's
just
no
history
class per se.
Like
period.
civics, they
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Yeah.
civics they
Civil
give you some of that
And
background on
world
the fire
history.
and when it was
Yeah.
formed.
World
Yeah.
history was usually an option in a lot of schools,
Yeah.
but
Not at St. Michael's.
I was at Star.
Geography. My kids,
Yeah.
my grandkids tell me what are you talking about?
No,
What
no,
is
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was one of our courses.
Yeah. Yeah.
no, the some of the suburban areas do teach geography, but they don't real big emphasis on it. I think but civics, I think in general has lost its punch.
I even took geography in college. We had an excellent geography professor at DePaul University. He just died about 2 years ago. I kept in touch with him through the years, sent Christmas cards. But he was an expert at geography, and he was the head of the DePaul had a geography department.
Wow.
And he was the chairman of the department. But his geography courses were history, literature, you learned about the country. You just didn't learn boundaries and
Yeah.
mountain
Right.
Yeah,
ranges
Yeah.
and
that's the way
rivers.
it should be.
You learned
Yeah.
everything. He was
kinda
just a
like,
name was Richard J. Hauk. He was a phenomenal man.
What was the last name?
Houk, Hauk, just like
Hauk.
Ralph Hauk,
Ralph
who was the
Hauk.
manager of the
Manager
Yankees for a
yeah.
while.
I took a course in what we called political geography, which is very important,
Yeah.
tying current events to
Yeah.
locations.
Well, the problem with history as such, they teach too much politics in there and not enough of what's going on in the world, from my perspective anyway, because they'll go down a road of, Washington was the first president, Adams, Jefferson, Adams, goes on down the list.
You memorize all the presidents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh, you remember
in
the
general,
streets.
you got to learn more about what happened at the time, and a lot of classes didn't teach that.
I was at I took an excursion with the town. The town had an excursion out to Starved Rock, and I've never been to Starved
Oh,
Rock
yeah.
before. And I was in the museum, going through the museum, and there was a French, of course, were very prominent in the settlement of Illinois, and there was a display of what they call the Cross of Lorraine. You may have seen
Yeah.
it. Cross
sure.
with two crossbars.
Two.
Right.
And there was this lady, and she was standing there. She says, I want to get a picture of that. She's, what does this cross? She was talking to her husband. What does this cross mean? So I started to tell her this is a historical cross of France from Lorraine.
Yeah.
I says it was General de Gaulle's symbol during the war.
War
And
II,
she
the Free
said,
French.
Who?
Yeah.
I said, and this one was, I'd say, in her mid 40s.
Yeah.
And she said she had never heard of General de Gaulle.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I said he was the leader of the Free French during World War II.
World War II?
Was that when they were fighting the Holocaust?
Oh, God.
I says she said that was when the Holocaust. They were fighting against the Holocaust. Right? That's all she seemed to know about World War II. Is
Yeah.
that had something to do with the
Yeah.
Holocaust.
Well,
Yeah.
Never heard of de Gaulle, Free
Yeah.
French. I asked if she'd ever seen the movie Casablanca. And I don't think, because in there they have the ring with the Cross of Lorraine.
Right.
They identify themselves a couple
Oh,
of times.
Burger,
in the
Norwegian.
movie.
Yeah.
They flip open the ring has.
Oh.
I thought maybe that would ring a bell with her, but it just amazed me that here was a woman, and she seemed to be otherwise an intelligent woman. She had no idea what World War II
Yeah.
was
That's
all
what
about,
we're
who de
saying. They
Gaulle
don't
was.
teach it.
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Not much of an
I'll-
interest either.
I'll
No.
tell you how bad it is. I was going out campaigning for a candidate one time, and I knocked on the door. And
Himself.
Yeah, and I asked her about she's going to vote, going to vote for so and so, whatever it was, And she says, "Their election coming up." You know, I mean, they're completely oblivious
People
to.
couldn't care less about elections.
No.
Yeah,
And
no.
the turnout. That's
People who are in
terrible.
politics
Oh,
assume
yeah.
that everybody follows this the way, and
No.
people don't. They don't.
No,
pay
they don't.
attention.
Well,
No.
you got.
Too many of them do.
Well, the
I
trouble.
think we should do here in this country like they do over in Iraq and Afghanistan is when you vote, they make you dip your finger
Finger in
ink.
the.
Yeah.
Hey, yes.
yeah.
My proposals exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, boy, that would
Yeah.
cut down a lot of fraud, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
I think
Well,
there's a
it
big
is-
city in Illinois that might not be enthusiastic about that
Yeah.
that concept. I'm not sure. I've heard about it.
Can
Yeah.
you can use two fingers
Effingham.
or three?
Maybe that's it. Maybe you could have each finger. You get
Each finger, yeah.
when you,
that would
after
work.
10 times. then
Yeah,
you-
that
John?
would work.
that's the Chicago way.
Was that Effingham?
Could be.
Yeah,
Yeah, it could be.
Well, there's not a monument, but an art exhibit as such with a bunch of legs on the in Grand Park on the south side there. And I was supposed to be following somebody or other. And I said, yeah, it's just like Chicago. They follow whatever tells them to go. You know, there's nobody in Chicago thinks for themselves. And the only thing they know about is who has the most money will win.
Yeah. What did the precinct captain say? A lot of people seem to think the precinct captain is actually some kind of official, too.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Although often it's not. I've been to worked a lot of polling places on the job. Usually the precinct captain knows most about the operation of it. A lot of judges don't know, but the precinct captain's experience, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But while we're on that subject, before we get away, we're talking about election. What does anyone have any opinion of that new election law we're going to have this time around where you can register on the very day of voting without any ID?
It's too much fraud possibility.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No.
Isn't that? What do you think there, Bill?
I think that it is the backbone of this country that we should vote, but we should register before. And I just see, oh boy, lawsuits and fraud. And,
You can't
and,
verify anything.
no.
You can't
No.
go in and buy
You
a,
can't do it
a
now, so
six
why
pack
can't-
without
Yeah.
Right.
IDs, but you know you
Exactly.
You can't use a credit card at a gas station without showing a photo ID.
Oh, right.
But when you suggest a photo ID to be able to vote, oh no, that would be an infringement
too much
on
of an
something.
expense
or
on
other. That would be
people.
terrible.
No,
Well, I remember years ago they had what they call deputy registrar program.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
before
sure.
30 days beforehand, you used to register in the precinct and they had judges there and everything else.
yeah.
And the deputy registrar's program was great. They register people and they found out who moved and they could
Yeah.
report all the stuff and everything else. Then they said, well, it works too good, so now you have to go downtown
Yeah.
and put your information downtown. They said, well, we're working 5 days a week during the week when City Hall is open or Cook County is open. Well, you got to get down there. I said, well, okay, you pay my wages. They
Yeah,
said, what?
right.
Yeah,
But there
no.
are no more precinct captains to get out and
No,
Not
there are a
really.
few around
canvass
yet,
these
but
No.
people. And
most of them
very
Is that
disappeared.
in
Haven't
Chicago? They no
encountered one
longer
in
they no
years.
longer have the precinct captains.
They still have
They-
them, but
Yeah.
they're,
yeah, but very
not-
few.
Yeah,
far
I haven't
between.
had, and you know, every
No.
time we've had some people in the last election coming around. You know, we had a very tight contested race there between state senators. You know, and Tony Barrios lost. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
which was sort of a shock, I think, for her. And so we did have competition, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I met the new state senator, but he was going door to door, you know, and he knew he had a chance.
You know,
but,
I think
but that's the
their
only
thinking
time.
is,
But he's not
hey,
a
I
precinct
got
captain.
this in my pocket. I don't have to go out and meet the people.
right.
Yeah.
That's the way
Well, that was
some
a
are.
36
I've heard
ward.
that the ward organizations are not what they were.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Most of them have dwindled. There may be a few, like maybe
Yeah.
Eddie Burke's
Well, okay,
ward.
here's what
Most
should
of
be-
them have dwindled.
They have what they call the committeemen, which is essentially another step in corruption. But a lot of committeemen and aldermen are the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, there's no reason why you have to have a committeeman in the first place. First of all, it's a non-paying job, but they control the money.
That's a party.
But it's
a
the
party.
party, that's
a
a
party
party.
officer.
I know,
Yeah.
I realize
Yeah,
that.
well, that was,
And-
we have a central
but-
committee made up of the 50
Yeah, I realize
wards.
that.
Yeah.
But the original committeemen, remember years ago, umpteen years ago, when they had 2 aldermen per ward.
Oh, way back.
yeah,
back.
way back.
Okay, in order to get rid of one ward, they made a deal where one alderman would be the alderman and the other one would be the committeeman.
Yeah.
So this is where the committeeman came in. Now,
Committee
over
was
the
never
year,
a salaried position.
It's
No,
not
but it was
paid.
voted though. You
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
voted.
you voted for- oh, yeah.
the,
Oh,
and people
absolutely.
didn't know what it was. You know what the
Yeah.
hell.
You
it was.
voted
Ward,
for him?
ward committee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
know
you
that.
voted
Yeah.
for the.
Oh, gee, I
ward
didn't know
committee
that.
member.
yeah,
Oh, sure.
I
I
forgot
thought
what
I was a pretty
happened.
well
I
informed guy.
You know.
And in the suburbs, we have township committeemen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Al, can I just interrupt for a second? What happened? We know when the first ward had Hinky Dink Kenna and Bathhouse.
Bathhouse John Coughlin.
Right.
They
Weatherman?
they got he did the weather occasionally.
Yeah.
Whether they liked it or not.
Yo.
Very few homes had TV, but he was broadcasting. Yeah.
Alex Dreyer was his
Yeah.
front man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
That was Marconi, I think.
they had Well, he was the John DeVita of his career. But anyway, so they had the two aldermen, and I don't know, they must have come in about in the 1890s, and then when it was around 1920, Al, I believe they went into the ward committeeman. So Bathhouse stays on as alderman, and Hinky Dink is the ward committeeman. In 1938, it's 1938. They've been in power for 40 years. Bathhouse John dies. Who comes in as the alderman? Hinky Dink. He's like 76 years old, you know. And, you know, it's
How
like,
old?
The same thing is happening
Something like
today.
Yeah.
76?
Oh, the
That's the
only
spirit.
one that was
That's the spirit.
That's the spirit.
the
Yeah.
only one that was an exception to is the 36th ward last time around that Bill Banks retired, and they put in this Rice, and Fasado, who was a nobody.
Wait, he was a fireman. Don't say he was a nobody.
all right, a fireman, but he basically politically was a nobody, and nobody won the race, so they had a runoff between Fasado and Rice, and Rice said, "I don't need to go out and campaign." And actually, the Central Committee came in there to try to work with his organization, and they walked out. They said he had no organization. And basically, he didn't want to get off his dead butt to go on campaign.
That's what I say. They figure
Well,
they're
okay.
in.
Well, that's the trouble. And
Yeah.
as Fasado won, so he lost out, and then he was, had to go back to poning cars there because his thing was.
Then they gerrymandered district, and he's not even in the district.
They're gonna
anymore.
have
Okay,
a
now here's
tough
the
time.
catch on
Yeah.
that. Now Cullerton decides he's going to retire.
Yeah.
Fasado is in the new 38th ward, so
Yeah.
at this point there's nobody running in the 38th ward.
Oh,
So it
so
looks like
maybe
Sounds
Fasado.
like Posado might.
Yeah.
He might move, man.
yeah, he looked like he might be the heir apparent.
I'm
Is that
surprised the
current-
alderman in that other ward isn't Hinky Dink Kenna the fourth or the fifth. I
Yeah.
mean, the
I
way
don't know,
they
yeah.
pass these things down now
Yeah,
from
right.
families.
Yeah.
It's surprising that one of his descendants isn't still the alderman.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing. Yeah,
Nothing.
I don't
nothing.
understand
Back-
why in this period, I mean, every 10 years after a census, you'd redraw Chicago ward boundaries. That's fine. I
Yeah.
suppose it was a day, the new boundaries come into effect. Now you've got several years of uncertainty, people transitioning from one ward to another, and they don't really know what ward they're in for
Right.
like
That's
a
right.
long
Yeah,
twilight
and,
zone.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
very
still
good.
don't-
Why
yeah.
the difference in this cycle, in this 10-year cycle?
Yeah.
Well,
Jack,
the
Jack
problem-
Ryan here is a prime example telling me about that.
Yeah, we're back in the 14th ward. We moved into our house at
Oh.
65th in Richmond in 1973. It was the 13th ward. A few years went by. Oh, no, you're in the 15th ward. By the time we left, we were in the 14th ward. We moved
Yeah.
to Garfield Ridge, around Archer and Harlem, in the 23rd ward, and recently we're back in the 14th ward because it's got a appendage that comes way out west,
That
the
was
slab.
that was to include you. That's the only reason.
That's-
they did
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
Took
Well,
a while to get there.
I did the same thing. I've lived 50 years on Patterson there. I've been in 3 different wards. Building never changed. Still in the same.
I don't want to really get off that, but we were talking about history and geography and changing. This is a picture of my daughter's kitchen, and on the one wall she has maps. She just
Oh.
bought these maps and posted them up on the wall. She's had them there. I just realized, for 15 years.
She's going to be redrawing boundaries.
So
Let's see here. Crimea's now. Is that where is that?
Yeah.
Oh,
But she wants these kids to know what the geography and history
Yeah,
is.
I
Well,
know.
in general, in the dim, dark past, there was no real straightforward boundaries. It
Yeah,
was
frontiers. They used the term frontiers
Frontier,
because
yeah.
they were more.
Yeah, 'cause the fact
indeterminate.
is-
no, that's over there somewhere.
yeah. Well, it's not only that, but if you had more power, your frontier
Yeah.
expanded. And as a kid or whatever came in, sometimes you come down to nothing. And so it was a very I call it accordion type of thing. And the English were notorious for boundaries, so that's why we're having so much. Maybe one of the problems we're having trouble in the Middle East with the
Yeah, the
Yeah,
British
Arabian
wanted
countries.
everything,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah,
on
but
black
they've been
and
having
white.
those
Yeah,
problems.
Well,
for
you got
2,000
three different. You got
years.
three different
well,
entities.
the religious and yeah.
You got three different entities in the
Boundaries, borders.
in,
Yeah.
Iran.
Yeah.
You got the Sunnis, the Shiites,
Shiites.
and the Kurds,
Kurds.
and they don't get along with each other. And they're all Muslim.
Yeah. The
But
Kurds
they
have been
don't-
autonomous for quite a long
Yeah,
time.
they
Nobody's
don't.
bothering
they,
with them.
They
very
don't like
much.
to pray the same way, so consequently they're out.
We're ready for a break, I think.
Ready?
We ready?
Yeah, we've done
Now for a brief intermission.
Let's get
You're
warmed up.
listening to Meet the Chicago Historians.
Chicago.
Hey friends, do you need an awning over your front, side, or back door? Or your windows? How about a canopy for your carport? Or a patio cover over your patio so you can enjoy being outside in case of rain? All you have to do is call Awnings and More, and Raphael Bogus will drive over, measure up whatever you need, and go from there. You can call Awnings and More at area code 773-710-8403 or 847-890-1447. So if you need awnings for your windows or doors, call Raphael Bogus at Awnings and More at area code 773-710-8403 or 847-890-1447. Now, Raphael also installs hand railings for your front, side, or back steps. You must be safe when you go up and down the steps, especially in bad weather. So for awnings or handrails, call Raphael Bogus at area code 773-710-8403 or 847-890-1447. Again, Awnings and More for awnings and handrails, call Raphael Bogus at 773-710-8403 or 847-890-1447.
Now back to our special edition of Meet the Chicago Historians. Jack?
Special?
Every
Yeah, we're special. We're special every month.
Right.
He's carrying his 38 special. That's
We were talking before the break about historical, how history and how geography aren't taught anymore.
geography.
I know there were two of my favorite subjects, and they seem to run very much hand in hand in school. You would think today, with the world being as shrunk as it is, and you would think that would be important to teach about geography, a little something about culture,
Yeah.
No.
Geography,
Yeah.
geology,
Yeah.
geology too,
Yeah.
meteorology,
about the Mesozoic era and what else. You know.
all that good stuff.
And one hobby a lot of us as youngsters learned about history and geography, which is just about passé now, is stamp collecting.
Stamp collecting,
Yeah,
yeah, very
stamp.
good.
How many do that anymore?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
coin collecting was too.
That's-
Just,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
other-
probably still talking
But
about
stamp
it.
was coin collecting was basically
American coins. yeah.
American coins were
But
you know,
stamps you
Yeah,
collected
stamps you
from all over
around
the
the
world.
You know who was
International,
an
yeah.
expert was FDR because he,
He
was
loved
a stamp
stamps, yeah.
collector.
Yeah.
And
He
you
was
know,
confined to his wheelchair chair. He
Yeah.
would just take up stamp
they said he
collecting, right?
used to like spend an hour every night,
I
with
think you're
stamp
right.
collection.
Yeah.
And one time, he had like the Prime Minister of Australia in there, and with some, during
John
World War
Curtin.
II. Yeah, you know what I'm going to say? Yeah.
No.
Anyway, so they said we ought to use this port, etc. As a embarkation plan. He said, well, what about this other town in Australia? And everybody goes, what? Never heard of it. He said, well, I got stamps from there. So, they bring in their geologist, and they said, yeah, you know what? It is a better port than the one you guys are talking about. And here's a guy, from the United States who's telling
Yeah,
them,
right.
You
Roosevelt
see?
picked
And
up a
it-
lot of his World War II strategy from his stamp
it
collecting
could
knowledge of
very well be.
geography. Yeah, yeah.
He remember he used to he commandeered or was piloting a destroyer or something out in between United States and Canada. And he said, by the way, watch for the shoals here. And they said, you want to take the pilot house? And said, yeah, okay. He was really he was into something, and that may be another thing with all these. I don't know what. I'm glad I'm not a parent anymore. I mean, I am, but they're all older and
Yes.
Apparently.
Yeah, stamp collecting's
Apparently
got quite
they are.
expensive now. Even the
So,
local stamp,
True.
49 cents.
True.
Why did FDR know about the shoals from his own day as a yachtsman or something? Or?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a-
Well, how many
Yeah,
kids
he
have
was
their own
saying-
yachts now? See,
Yeah, no, that's
Tell me.
right.
Good
We
German bird.
deprived.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We depraved on account of we're deprived. Now, getting back to like the story, like about learning history, I can remember our 5th grade history book.
You never got out of 5th grade.
Oh,
You
well-
always refer.
Well,
to
okay, that's okay. I spent a long time there. So anyway, it had the history book. It referred to the World War, and it ended with the New Deal. So it was old, kind of old by 1956, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
But anyway,
Just
nonetheless,
a
we
year.
knew that there was more to the world than that. I did anyway.
Well, the other thing was that California, which has a state board of election or board of
Education.
education, sort of dictates what books are being used. And for a while there, World War II was almost deleted from the books. And
Yeah.
How can you do that?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what
Because of
happened was
Japanese
the,
internment.
Yeah, we only had
Yeah,
26
right, exactly.
million people fighting for us.
yeah, well, the one that did it to was the Holocaust, which the Jews didn't appreciate, so they had to pass through Congress. They had to teach about the Holocaust. So that's why it's World War II is back in the books. But actually, if you want to look at it, World War I and II are really the same war.
A lot of historians feel that way, I know, but
Yeah. Well,
you had some of the switch sides there.
Oh, you go back to the Roman Empire, you go look about switching sides.
Yeah, yeah. For example, I know in World War I, Japan got involved. And they went out and they seized a lot of German islands in the Pacific.
They
and things
basically
like
just
that.
glommed onto a
Yeah,
lot of islands,
right,
and
yeah.
they didn't make any other real contribution to the war effort.
Boy, who's
They were-
more
they were-
vicious, the Imperial Japanese or the Nazi Germans? I mean, who were more inhumane? I don't know.
They were equal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weren't they?
Yeah.
They both had this sense of racial superiority. But people don't realize that the Japanese believed that they were the master race of Asia.
yeah.
They were the the great battleship, the Yamato was that was the equivalent of Aryan for the Germans. The
Yeah.
Yamato
Is it?
race.
Oh, really?
The Yamato race was like the core, the elite of the Japanese racial
But-
history.
Yeah.
And they the Japanese were the Yamato race. That's why
Yeah.
that ship was such a great symbol
Yeah.
of Japan.
Yeah.
They gave it this name that symbolized their racial
Yeah.
superiority.
But
Anything
if
I've
you look
ever
at the
read
treat-
about that was that the Japanese, it was bred. They were inbred into this hatred, and that the Germans, the Nazis, were educated into it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just were followers.
Well, if you look at the treatment of prisoners of war, Germany in general treated prisoners of war much better than the Japanese did.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah.
because they
No death march.
Yeah, I was
Except
going
for
to
the
say.
SS, like when the SS got it, like at the
Well,
Malmedy, the massacre.
well, there's
I mean,
al-
but you know, I'm not just in general. The Germans did follow the more civilized rules of war in dealing with prisoners.
Well, the
yeah.
other problem that came into everybody said, well, the prisoners of war were starving. Well, the problem was the rest of the population was starving too at the
Yeah.
time. So, you know, who's at the low end of the totem pole is the prisoners. You know,
Yeah.
Now, Rich, you just mentioned the Death March, the Bataan Death March, right? Can you give us a little background on that? Did you know ever? I was just
Well,
reading
after
about
the
that.
fall of Corregidor, the Japanese, American troops surrendered to the Japanese, and instead of treating them as prisoners of war should have been, they just made the march. I think it was a 50-mile march. They provided no food. They would
no water.
no
Yeah.
water. They
Nothing,
would
no.
shoot people as
Yeah.
they fell.
There was something like 60,000 Filipino Americans, and
Yeah,
they
that's
didn't know what
right.
to
You
do
have
with them.
Remember, there were
The
Filipinos
Bataan
as well as
Death
Americans.
March.
Filipino
That's
Americans.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if there was any friction between the Americans and the Filipinos before, it was over by the when the Japanese come in,
Yeah.
like the way they treated.
well, the other thing was that the Japanese feared was some of the Filipino islanders, because they used to like to cut off heads, and they used to sneak around and take care of some of the soldiers there. But that was sort of a minority type of thing, you know.
When
Like guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
when FDR ordered Douglas MacArthur, after about 5 times, MacArthur finally left the Philippines. He was directly ordered by the president to leave, and then he left the command to a general named Jonathan Wainwright.
Yeah.
Got
And it was
captured.
Wainwright who had to sign the surrender to the Japanese. And then when at the surrender ceremony on the battleship Missouri, MacArthur arranged for Wainwright to be brought to the ceremony. And he's standing right behind
Standing
MacArthur,
Yeah.
along with the British General Percival, who had surrendered Singapore.
Right.
So they were both standing right behind MacArthur when he dictates peace terms to the Japanese, to sort of give them the honor.
Yeah.
Of
Well, they
the-
put their
of-
signatures on the treaty too. Those two.
Yeah.
For
No.
some.
No.
Yeah, they did. One for the
No,
other.
they did not.
Percival signed
No,
for
they
the
did
No,
not.
there are more signatures. Some for the Allied powers.
No,
some
you're
for-
wrong on that. You're wrong on that, Jack.
Right, but I am not.
MacArthur signed as Supreme Commander for the Allied
Right.
powers, and Admiral Chester Nimitz signed on behalf of the United States.
Right, but I mean,
Wainwright and Percival did not sign the surrender document.
Yeah.
The
no, they told me they did.
Well, they're wrong. They
but
did. They did not.
last spring we went down to Pearl Harbor, and we were on the Missouri. I couldn't do too much with my legs. I said,
Yeah.
"No, you don't want to walk that far." But anyways, we I took photographs of the site where the surrender treaty was supposed to take place and stuff like that. But it was quite a magnificent area, and they do have a medallion in place on the deck that show where they signed it.
Where they signed it.
And they do have a replica of the treaty. They claimed it was a real one, but I don't think so. But
The real one's at the
Yeah, but-
National Archives in Washington.
but they,
Yeah.
they have a copy there, and I didn't really have time to read it because I was on a tour, and they said, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You know,
Yeah.
one of the problems with tours is you see a lot, but not much of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Go back on your
Yeah.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
times as much time to spend.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was quite a sight, and along with that, right behind it was the Arizona was sunk, so you have that memorial there,
Yeah.
and
The
the
beginning of the war and
And
Yeah.
the, and the ending. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's true.
and the
both
Missouri
battleships.
Yeah.
Missouri was facing Arizona, tribute to the Arizona.
Yeah.
We were out there in March.
Yeah.
In Arizona is just
That's
brings
yeah.
tears to your.
Quite
Yeah.
a sight.
It's still leaking oil.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It still bleeds.
Quite a
Ugh.
sight.
You know what? Has anybody seen the movie MacArthur where Gregory Peck plays?
I remember it, yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I
Late
wonder
70s.
how can anybody assess that? Is that pretty accurate or very accurate or
Is this a new movie?
no?
No, it's an old-
no.
70s. It was made in the
Yeah.
aftermath
30
of
years old.
Patton. There was Patton was such a
Yeah.
success that they
Yeah.
decided to make a movie
Yeah.
about MacArthur.
No, it seemed very factual, Ken.
Well, yeah, I was.
Well, you got
Some of it is, some of it is
Yeah.
not. I mean, it's
Yeah.
there's a little bit of,
Yeah.
because he was politically a controversial figure.
Yeah.
And you get into the whole controversy with Truman.
He
and-
was fighting with Washington, so to
Yeah.
speak. You know.
Is he
vice
still
versa.
alive?
Who's that?
Washington.
Yeah, she's on the TV.
during World War II. He
But,
was.
but
yeah.
the
Georgia
one,
Herald.
the one movie I saw that
we
was
always
supposed
said we got orders from Washington in
Yeah.
all the war movies.
true.
So
Yeah.
the one that was very good was Valkyrie.
I haven't seen that.
That's a great movie. It talks about the attempted assassination of
plot.
Hitler.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah,
And,
I've seen parts of it. Yeah.
It, according to what I've read, is as accurate as a movie can be within the short span that they had it.
Sure.
And he is a hero now.
Oh, Stauffenberg?
Yeah.
Colonel the Count Klaus von Stauffenberg.
We just passed the anniversary of that
Yeah.
assassination.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, July of 44. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He took a risk and he lost. And the problem was that they moved the suitcase on the wrong on the side of the
Heavy,
leg.
there was a heavy wooden beam
Yeah.
between it and the. Yeah.
It saved Hitler, which way things go. And
Also, the meeting was supposed to take place in an underground bunker, which would have compressed the explosion. And instead, it was a nice day, so they said, "Well, let's hold it in the sort of a barn that they had, the shed that they had above ground, because they could open the windows." So the windows were open. It's a wooden building, I believe, so you didn't have the compression that would have taken if they had. Even if they had moved the bomb under in this underground bunker, Hitler probably everyone would have died.
Yeah.
But because the
Well,
blast was able to escape.
The bomb didn't go off as well as it's supposed to either,
No.
because it was a
Everything
makeshift
just-
bomb.
everything went wrong.
Yeah. I wonder if that would have ended the war.
That's
though,
the question.
because,
Even if
yeah,
Hitler and many of his followers were
that was
killed
what, July
then.
of
July of 44.
44.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was.
It went on for another year.
Nearly a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nearly a year.
Well,
If Hitler had
The Russians were
died, I
closing
mean,
in.
it's
It would have
hard.
been a big
He
vacuum.
was the one that was implacable of fighting to the last
Yeah.
ditch and the
Yeah.
last
I think
inch. And
Many of the
Yeah.
German general staff thought that at least an armistice, if not surrender, would
Yeah.
have been the outcome.
Yeah.
well, they were hoping to surrender to the Americans and British and to continue
Yeah.
fighting against the Soviets, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
we had pledged we wouldn't agree
Well,
with
the
separate.
Soviets were notorious for over the centuries for being not too nice a group. Yeah,
Really? Do you
they never
think?
had a real civilization as.
Like I said, nothing changes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
right.
That's
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it's still. You
What
know,
about Peter the Great?
well,
Well-
Peter the Great was. He really reformed the Russians. He came in. He was very intelligent for a world leader or a country leader. He went out under disguise, learned how to build ships. He went to different countries, learned how to govern and all this other stuff. The trouble he had, he thought he was indestructible, I guess the best way of putting it. And he went out there and he caught pneumonia and he wasn't destructible and he died.
And I would disagree to this. You can't read the Soviet Union backward into Russia. The Russian Empire was nowhere near the hideous regime that you have under Lenin and Stalin. The Tsar did not have millions of people in slave labor camps. There was a secret police under the Tsar, but it was nothing like
You had
the
serfs.
KGB. I mean, there was
some degree of.
but the Tsar, they had liberated the serfs. I mean, the serfs had been
That's true.
freed
That's
at
a
this
good point.
rather,
That's a good
but the
point.
same with just a few years of when we ended slavery in the
Right,
United
that's
States.
true.
Right back into
Well,
Now,
slavery.
you
then.
can't compare
No.
the regime of the Tsars to what you have under Stalin.
Well, the Tsars, the country really came to real life with Peter the Great. Why?
oh yeah,
Well, he built St.
and Catherine the
Petersburg.
Great, yeah.
He had the serfs bringing in rocks every day to stabilize the city, because they were, and essentially as they call the Venice of the North, because all the canals and
Right.
everything else. It's a very nice place to go to. I've been there, and I would recommend anybody who wants to go there to go.
St. Petersburg?
St. Petersburg, yeah. Don't go in the winter. But
Don't fly.
That's the
I-
city that was Leningrad.
And it's amazing that
And
after
the way it
Yeah.
stood up
after
during the war.
70 years of communism, that when communism fell, the people immediately voted to change the name back to St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
There was no sentiment for keeping Lenin's name.
All those statues of Lenin, everyone,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Yeah.
Hailing,
Down
yeah,
to
I
the
saw
junkyard.
Lenin hailing a cab.
Yeah.
Way to describe something.
And we no longer have a Stalingrad. It's Volgograd.
Volgograd, exactly.
Khrushchev took
That far back.
when
I
he
know.
attacked Stalin at they had a party conference in '61. All these cities that had been named, and there were any number of cities. There was Stalinabad, Stalinsk, Stalino. In fact, this Donetsk that they talk about in the Ukraine, that was actually called Stalino with an O at the end
Really?
until 1962. And Stalingrad became Volgograd, which,
Yeah.
and nobody ever wanted to change the
Well,
name back to
the
Stalingrad.
Crimea, Crimea. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go there.
Tongue twister.
Was essentially Khrushchev was a Ukrainian,
Right.
and he supposedly gave that land to the Ukraine. Now, I don't know.
54,
That's
1954.
right. That's
Now, there was a lot of Russians
what his
in there.
motivation
Now,
was.
my personal opinion is they got away from the regime of the Russias, which at that time had the KGB and everything else, and I thought that Ukraine was more liberated, I guess.
There were two ways of thinking about it. Some people thought that Khrushchev was giving the Crimea to the Ukraine as a reward because the Ukrainians had fought so valiantly during World War II, although they welcomed the Germans at first because they thought the Germans were going to liberate them from Stalin. When they found out the Germans, the Nazis, were just as bad as Stalin, then they fought. But the other thinking was that it was a little more clever, that Khrushchev wanted to put more Russians into the Ukraine to dilute the Ukrainian sentiment within the Ukraine, so that there would be more people within the Ukraine that would be loyal to Russia. So there's nobody knows exactly what the reason was, but in '54 they did transfer it to the Ukraine.
I did read an article about the ships. Both of them have third-rate navies, and none of the ships they have are anywhere near modern standards.
No.
And the Ukraine, I guess, had one ship that was relatively decent, and they advocated and went to Russia, so Russia picked up that ship anyway.
It's all left over from the Soviet Navy. These ships are all.
Well, the Soviet Navy had a little problem called Stalin. but
All those
I
places
remember-
will be called Putingrad. And
I wonder how free Russian grad students in history are to research a lot of this, evaluate
more so
Stalin.
than they used to be.
More so than they used to be, but maybe still not quite totally.
No, but they had a tendency to reformulate history to suit their needs.
And they control the media again. I mean, the television and radio.
Now we're going back to
under
the Soviet
domination of
style, I
government.
guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the
exactly.
funniest story, though, I always heard was when Stalin came into power, he got more or less killed off his generals. And then when...
And everybody else.
well, a lot of other people, too,
Yeah.
besides that. But then when Germany attacked, he wanted to know where all his generals were. And so
They're
he
all
said,
dead.
yeah, well, you killed them all.
Yeah, you got to dig them up. Yeah.
So you're really walking a tightrope with that guy. You want to do well, but not too well. You don't want to look like you're promising and giving a threat to
Right.
to
And
you
to
know,
what
the
extent
Man of
was
Steel
the
is what
Russia-
Stalin
the German
meant.
attack on Russia
Hard
a
Joe
real
Hard guy.
surprise,
I was
given
reading-
that-
Not really.
There was a German, there was a Soviet marshal who died in the 1960s, I believe, and they said he died cursing Stalin for all the losses. We always talk about the blood, the bloodletting, the Red Army, the casualties. Much of that was caused by Stalin because he was probably the most inept supreme commander in the history of warfare. I mean, he ordered attacks, he ordered things to be done but no one could argue with him. You had
Stand
to do
and
what.
fight to the last man.
That was always the thing going on. I said, who killed the most people during the Second World War? Was Stalin, Hitler,
Stalin.
or Mao Zedong? And nobody kept track except the Nazis. So consequently, the Nazis took the prize. But Stalin
slaughtered more people than Hitler. He was
yeah.
in power. He was in power longer. He had more opportunity to slaughter people.
Well, he did. It was just arbitrary. And Mao, he did a lot of slaughtering too.
Yeah, Mao was.
But there was so many people that nobody know how many were involved with that.
Who was keeping track?
Mao didn't come into power till after World War II. So
he
but
took
they were already
over,
fighting before World War II.
Chiang
weren't they?
Kai-shek.
Yeah.
He took over
he
from
was
Chiang
fighting.
Kai-shek. Yeah.
49, they get
Something
final
like that.
power over the.
Yeah, they had a so-called revolution.
If you total up the dead bodies, Stalin was responsible for more dead than even
I heard an estimate about the Red Chinese ever since 1950, when they celebrate their...
Oh, it's millions.
There's an estimated, now this is just an
Millions.
estimate, 200 million infant girls were starved to death there because they didn't want all these girls or whatever. 200 million. Now you can't,
It's hard to believe.
you hear a figure like that and it's like, you can see it in writing, but can you imagine 200?
No, you can't imagine.
No.
You know what?
can't, no.
Stalin once, I think he said this to Churchill. He said, "One death is a tragedy.
Yeah.
1,000,000 deaths are a statistic."
Statistic, yeah.
It's incomprehensible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, he said, it isn't who votes, it's who count the votes. Yeah.
No, that was somebody here, wasn't it?
That was a
Capone
ward
saying
committeeman, I think.
Yeah, Chicago. Chicago.
That was Iggy Dink.
Chicago.
It depends how many
That's
people had.
Chicago.
I
way.
love the way John Cass starts his program on at 9 o'clock with the Elliot Ness,
Oh.
Does he?
From the movie. You know,
That's the
that's a Chicago
Oh, yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You bring a gun to a knife fight, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
you send that guy to the morgue. You know?
They send one of yours to the hospital. They send one of yours to the morgue.
That's the Chicago.
And,
way.
you know, and
Send 3 to the morgue. And he say he sends one of your guys to the hospital. You send 3 of his to the morgue.
Whatever.
you know, and we'll be arguing about or talking about Elliot Ness and his impact. No,
In March of 1932, Elliot Ness
Yes.
and his Untouchables
Well, you know
were
who
on
it
the
was?
trail of Frank Nitti.
Nitti, the
You know what he really
enforcer.
was?
Who was that? Walter Winchell, I guess.
Yeah, what? Yeah, it was.
Did he own Winchell's Donut Shop? Shops? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever happened?
Yeah, well, he
see, I
came
haven't-
to Chicago and started the
Winchell's Donut Shop.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was wondering, Elliot Ness, okay, obviously he was
Robert Stack.
Yeah,
what do you call it? Treasury agent and sent here and all that business. And was supposed in reality, what was he? He's what Snuffy Smith always called a revenuer. A revenuer, right?
Yeah.
The stamps and illegal booze, and that's all it was.
well, yeah, I know he's a Chicagoan. He's from Roseland.
No, he wasn't from there, I don't think, was he? Is he from there?
Yeah, and it's his
Yeah, maybe he was.
family is Swedish. They ran a bakery. They were on Kensington, near Front there.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, they also were over in the they had that marketplace in the 112th in Champlain and the
One of those
Pullman.
Swedes, you know?
Yeah, those Swedes.
I'm telling you.
And he was a graduate of University of Chicago, and he was up and coming. He wasn't. He probably never fired a gun in his life, you know. And I don't know how much when that book came out by Oscar Fraley and him. That's what And then Hollywood jumped on the bandwagon, but they don't.
Desi
He
Wu.
Yeah, it was sort of. They think he was sort of a news hound. He would call the newspaper
Publicity hound.
Yeah, publicity
Yeah.
hound. We're gonna raid Siebens Brewery on Larrabee Street.
Ooh.
So yeah, yeah.
It always gets me on the TV episodes. They come in there fighting big pitched gun battle. They just go, "I'll go on, okay. Take our stuff, okay. We'll open up next week."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Truck with the metal
W-
plates,
with-
the
yeah,
V
with-
on the front of the
yeah,
truck. They
right.
smash through the doors.
I wonder if that's true or not. et cetera.
Interesting. Interesting.
Well, it could be, much different, much. I won't say worse, but more street wise than
Right,
than
yeah.
what we hear in that. If you want to really read a good book on history, and that's the name of this, for the Chicago historians, is this, and I know that the one guy's got a book out, this Killing Jesus.
O'Brien.
O'Reilly. O'Reilly.
He's
O'Reilly.
got one out.
Yeah.
The one
Has anybody read it? I haven't read
I
any
have
of
read
his books.
his, but the other one, and I'm trying to think of the name of the
Killing
guy.
Lincoln,
Killing
Killing
Lincoln,
Kennedy.
Killing Kennedy.
Killing Kennedy.
No, Killing Jesus, the
Yeah.
same book.
Yeah.
And it
Killing
is
Sermon.
really good. It's better than
Yeah.
O'Reilly's.
Yeah.
One is a kid's
Does it seem
version
to
of
be
the same
pretty
thing. One is.
This isn't a kid's version.
No?
No.
Not Jim
I
Bishop.
think he
I mean, it
did
just
come
goes
out with
back-
a.
It
yeah.
goes back into the
day Christ
into the
died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
politics
Bishop?
of the
Yes,
time, and
Yeah.
it's
Lincoln
course,
died,
he's-
I think he wrote.
The day Lincoln died. FDR's last year. He didn't write the day FDR died. He wrote a book called FDR's Last
The
Year.
O'Reilly.
Who was
No,
that?
Jim Bishop.
Jim Bishop.
Oh no,
Oh.
no,
Yeah.
not that.
He
These
wrote
are
he
no
wrote similar
books.
books to
He
what
narrated
Jesus
a
is-
series called Battlefront or Battle Line or something too in the 50s or 60s.
so,
Jim
yeah.
Bishop.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you mentioned that business about what did you mention before there?
Yeah, what did
Made me
you
think of all the street smarts, and a kind of a parallel story in the during the Clinton administration. The head of the FDA was a Dr. Kessler, Food and Drug Administration,
Oh yeah.
who was also a lawyer. But he definitely wanted to be Elliot Ness because one of the companies came out with a product called Fresh Choice Orange Juice from Concentrate, which he thought was kind of a improper way of labeling Fresh Choice and Concentrate in the
And-
same
yeah,
label.
yeah.
So sounds like it was more of a job for the Federal Trade Commission to me. My own. But anyway, do they send them a letter? Do they send them an opinion? Do they mention it to them? No.
They raid
go,
the place.
They raided the place in Florida, the plant, and they seized the whole inventory.
Yeah.
Can you see this pulling up? They probably broke the doors down with that. Federal agents.
Yeah.
That's something
Federal
absurd.
office.
Yeah,
Those
right.
are the things that they're too
Yeah.
absurd to be not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, are we getting close now? Are we getting pretty close to break time, John, or what? Is John there?
John.
Oh, he left. John,
Yeah.
We going? Anyway,
We went on break.
Here's our musical segment.
We'll be right back after these messages of interest and importance.
How are the tires on your vehicle? Do you need motor oil? Or transmission fluid? Or power steering fluid? How about antifreeze? What about the wiper blades? Are they in good, sharp condition? Is the washer fluid in your tank full? How good is your battery? Do you need to replace light bulbs? Well, the place to pick up all these items is at Berkeley Auto Supply, 5237 St. Charles Road in Berkeley, Illinois. Stop in and see Tom, and he will get any part or supply you might need for your vehicle. He has every tool, part, or supply you might need, from the front bumper to the rear bumper, from the top of the roof to the bottom of the chassis. You can call Tom at area code 708-544-8350, and they are located at 5237 St. Charles Road in Berkeley, Illinois. Tom's hours are Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the evening. On Saturdays, he's there from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening. And he's even open on Sundays from 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Berkeley Auto Supply, 5237 St. Charles Road in Berkeley, Illinois. He is just east of Wolf Road and west of Mannheim Road, about 2 miles on the south side of the street. You can call 708-544-8350 for parts, tools, and supply. That's Berkeley Auto Supply, 708-544-8350, and he's located at 5237 St. Charles Road in Berkeley, Illinois.
Now back to our discussion.
Hello, everybody. We're back. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello is the shampoo that glorifies your hair. Boom, boom. Boy, are we setting that one back, huh?
Listing old commercials.
Yeah. Let's do all. But next time we do all commercials, huh?
Do we
You
get
wonder
paid
where
for
the
that?
yellow
Yeah,
went.
right.
You get twice what we normally get. Twice.
Halo, is Halo still sold? I wonder.
Probably under another name.
Yeah.
How about, stop that?
There's a lot
Jack's
of
Boom,
tip-top bread's
Foaming
gone
cleanser.
too.
Boom, 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 boom. Anyway.
Tip-top bread's gone
You can
too.
find a lot of that stuff on eBay, not eBay, on YouTube. YouTube? Did you ever go to YouTube in the commercial?
I do.
Oh, that's got a lot of
You don't
stuff.
have
From the land of sky blue waters.
Ham's Bear.
Yeah, Hams.
Hey, is that what
Hams had a
Hams
lot.
is still around, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're still-
yeah. Oh, sure.
Not so much here, though.
They're coming back again.
Yeah.
My uncle used to love Hams beer.
Minnesota's got
Maybe
a
just
lot
because
of
of
it.
the end.
Yeah,
That's the land of
is
sky
that
blue
where it's,
waters.
yeah, it's the land of sky.
Hams.
But they
Did the ball game.
My cousins, my family's up there, and they're all hams.
I was on a
Good.
tour and we were down south and what kind of, because a couple of my relatives were saying, nephews were saving beer cans. Remember when beer can collecting was a big deal? So I
Billy
said,
beer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's that Australian one that's so popular? The big, the giant
Foster's.
Foster. That's
Foster's.
it.
Anyway, so I said something about hams. I said, what? What's ham? Never. Hams never got south of the Mason-Dixon line. So yeah,
Yankee.
Yeah, Yankee. So in fact, one of the funny things, just digress, we're down in New Orleans for a Fire Fans convention, Chief. So we're taking pictures of. All we did was take pictures of fire trucks. So I'm standing there, and I'm not that much interested in out of town fire trucks. So I'm the road guard, Okay, it's ready to. Yeah, go ahead, take your picture. So I'm walking back. And
You're
back
not a
and
devotee of American La France and all
yeah,
the...
yeah, and Aaron's Fox, although they didn't have any left. So I'm walking back and I stumble into a garbage can, it's on the other side of the street. I look, there's some Jack's beer, I guess it was Jackson Brewery or something like that. So I'm pulling the cans. I said, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" So they made fun of me,
As well they should.
As well they should. Yeah. And I brought it all back, and I say, "You guys got any Jackson?" No, we don't have any Jackson.
Say, do you know the difference between a garbage can and a mailbox? No, I don't know the difference. What is? Boy, I'll never send you to mail a letter.
How about this
I love
one?
that.
Can you name 5 items that are made with milk?
Cheese.
Student asks.
What's
was
that?
asked by.
Louder.
Yeah. Name 5 items that are made with milk.
What?
And cheese, butter. Oh, ice
Yogurt.
cream
Yogurt.
Yogurt,
And-
ice cream,
and 2 cows.
and 2 cows.
That's the 5 things. Okay.
But you're
That
talking
was in the Legion magazine. If you guys read
The Legion of Decency.
the Legion of Decency.
Now, what you said before about this beer cans, now this must have been before the aluminum craze, aluminum collection.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
they used to have cone tops.
Well, I don't know. At one time, they were actually made out of steel, and
That's
you,
right.
you couldn't
Right.
crush them.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
They were Stalin made of steel.
Man of
That's what it
Steel.
meant.
Man of Steel. Yeah.
You're so old, you remember the cone tops, right?
The cone heads?
Cone top hit.
What's that?
Cone top. Beer
And
cans.
they're pretty rare, as from what I understand.
that
Cone
one. I don't
top
remember
What was a cone? I don't know what you mean by a cone top.
was a beer
Like a
can that
pyramid sort of
it had a
thing.
pyramid.
Oh.
Did you have a
yeah.
screw
Very
off
brief.
You
top
see
or
it.
something?
World War II was there were a lot of cone tops.
We weren't around then.
Distributed.
Yeah.
Well, it's just
World
like
War
Lucky
II was
Strike
fluff,
Green,
So
right?
people like
I've heard
me
they say
could be
Lucky
born.
Strike Green
That's
went
right.
to war and never came back. My dad used to say that. Lucky Strike
You know,
Green went to war and never
speaking
came
of World War II, I have a collection of Wings cigarette
Oh.
cards,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
the little.
and they all had a different airplane on them.
yeah.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
about
Allied
that.
Whether
Axis
they're
too, right?
German
Yeah.
Nazis,
Yeah.
the Jap and all of that, and I've got a
Messer
bunch of them, and I'm
Schmitts.
trying to find out who is a collector of them.
Yeah.
A
that
lot
I
of people
can-
don't even
yeah.
know about
I
them.
don't-
Yeah.
No, they don't. No.
And if you go to
No.
eBay, I'm sure you'll
No.
find it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
put
gonna
one
have
on
to, yeah.
eBay, try and sell it, and see
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
kind
look
of.
at what goes for on eBay.
They have shows of, they call it militaria, where they have
Yeah.
shows where
Yeah.
people exhibit. You
My brother's into all that stuff.
Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like
Anyway.
this guy that was here a couple months ago. He was talking about 1933 World's Fair, and they had that exhibit down here outside us in the suburbs.
Right, right.
It was quite good. I went out there for
what
that.
did, what would? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, the fellow that was here at one of our shows. Yeah,
Right,
it wasn't
yeah.
even, I wanted to get up to that, and I couldn't.
Was it worthwhile?
It was a good show, but I had no use for a lot of the stuff. But they showed cards, postcards primarily, and then they had some memorabilia from the 1933, and they had some even from the World's Fair in New York. I guess it was 1939 or something like that.
39, 40,
Yeah.
yes.
Great
Yeah.
New York World's Fair of 1939.
And then they also had some stuff there from 1893,
Yeah.
Columbia
and the some little minor stuff from a railroad fair from 48, 49 area.
Yeah.
I remember that as
Yeah.
a little kid.
Yeah.
And then
I went there. Yeah.
I saw you.
they didn't have anything
Yeah,
there
right.
from Expo '67, which I have photographs of. I had some stuff at one time, but my wife was cleaning house one time and cleaned them out.
Oh,
I remember
Boy,
Ed
man.
Sullivan promoting Expo 60. Come to Expo 67, Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal.
Well, what was funny about that, my brother got married the first time in '67. He went up there on his honeymoon,
And never came back.
no, he was like 20 miles out of town and costing $20 or something like that for a room. And I went there and had no idea what I was doing. Drove up there, and about 6 o'clock in the evening, I started looking for a place to find a hotel room, whatever. I found a bed B&B there, and it was cost me $7 a night.
Oh, those prices.
And I
Yeah,
look
those
out the
prices.
front. And I look out the front door, and here was Expo 67 in the background there.
Yeah.
That close.
I never got involved
I
in.
think the 1893 exposition is still on exhibit at the museum.
Museum, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
Chicago History Museum.
Yeah.
Science industry?
Rosenwald.
But they
Boy, that dates you a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit. Yeah, Rosenwald.
Yeah, that was
Museum
a-
of Science
But
and
we
Industry.
in our museum, the Fire Museum, we have a statue of Christopher Columbus from that
yeah,
exposition.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they have asked us to, if they could borrow it. They
very
don't
good.
have anything like that. at
They,
the-
the problem is they never said they're going to return it.
Yeah.
Things get borrowed.
I know another
Yeah.
guy that wanted it.
Oh, yeah, don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
know,
yeah,
Put it in writing.
they got the exhibit over at Field Museum. They come out. I went to that, and it was all right. Nothing spectacular. They
Which
had
one
a
is,
Well,
is that the
Field Museum. Yeah,
about the 1893?
yeah.
Yeah.
But they had a dinosaur bone leg there. It was all black and everything else. And
That's Sally.
no, that's
No,
that-
that's
that's over at
Field Museum.
Field. No, that was the museum.
I can use my music.
Yeah,
Science
Field
and
Museum
Industry.
has that. Yeah.
You know what's interesting is that there is a great deal of difference in the artifacts from, for example, everything from the Columbian Exposition was solid, heavy, metal, wood. Century of Progress is a lot of what they call ephemera, which is
Junk.
yeah, junk. Paper, paper products, etc. And you can see there's definitely a difference between those 40 years or so.
There's a depression on that, that's why.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, it was funny.
And Chicago, and they always made money. The two fairs made money.
Yeah.
And no one else is making money. Chicago's making money.
And they're two of the stars on the Chicago flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was
They're
funny was that
Those
Yeah.
two of the four stars are
okay.
the
Oh, yeah.
1893 and the Century of
yeah,
Progress.
right.
And
Yeah.
both during times of depression.
I thought one of them
Well,
was
actually,
my birthday.
it started
but
at
wasn't
that
it?
time.
Fort Dearborn, the fire, and the two
93.
World's Fairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what was funny is the Depression started in
funny, but they're not.
it was started in 1892 or so, but
It was a Great
The-
Depression then. That was the worst economic crisis up to its
but
time.
the
Yeah.
fair of 1893 slowed Chicago down, so they didn't have it until the next following
It
year.
was the next year, '94.
It
That's
was
right.
supposed to be
real.
92 because it was
Yeah.
the anniversary
Yeah.
of Columbus's
Yeah.
discovery.
Yeah.
of America.
Yeah.
But it
And
was
they
both
didn't even.
why.
They weren't even. They were a year late. They said, "Well, we'll let everybody around the country celebrate, and then we'll."
well,
come
it
back."
also, it also
But it was a great. I think when I get to heaven, Jack, we'll be up in heaven. You'll be my moderator up there. We're gonna
Say a good word.
we're gonna visit the Columbian Exposition. I'm sure they have it all up.
Didn't they have reproductions of
They
the
wanna
Nina,
borrow-
the
wanna
Pinta,
borrow your
and the
statue, I
Santa
heard.
Maria? That
Yes.
was one of
Yeah.
the exhibits that
Yeah.
was to tie in with the Colombian aspect.
They
of it.
were there, and one of them lasted up until about World War II or so.
yeah.
Is that
And then,
right?
and then
Yeah,
it
we're-
fell
I think I
apart.
have read that, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the lagoon behind Museum of Science and Industry for a long time. And the other thing, the artifact from
They
1893.
couldn't have preserved it, so there was.
No.
I mean,
Oh, it was it
Creosote.
wasn't
yeah,
that?
yeah,
but-
right.
it probably wasn't that well built to begin with.
No, it wasn't that well built. Plus the
Yeah.
fact they didn't know what it looked like in the first place. So
No
it was
photos?
just,
Oh, yeah.
it was an estimate.
Yeah, there were news photographers when Columbus landed. You just go to the back issues
yeah.
of the New York Times.
That's right.
He must have had somebody down there taking
Hey,
pictures.
who's this crazy Italian? He probably wants to start a restaurant. I don't think it's gonna,
But they still have. There was a Viking ship that
Yeah,
came over from
yes.
Norway.
Cristobal de Colombia.
That
Yeah.
Leif Erikson?
Leif
yeah,
Erikson.
yeah.
And they came over from Norway, and they sailed all the way down into Chicago on that ship, and the ship is out in Geneva, Illinois,
Yeah.
and they're trying to restore it, and they're having. It was pretty bad shape because they left it out in the open.
They
so
left it
long.
out, and it was in Lincoln Park. I remember it.
Yeah, I remember they
Yeah.
sold the shields off of it, so there was not much left of it. And the other thing was a poor method of cradling it. It opened up a little bit on top, so they had to bring the sides back in so that the beam was where supposedly was at one time. So they had a real problem doing that, and it's out there, and you have to look up online when it's open, but it's open for the public viewing.
I was just reading. They said shipwrecks in the Great Lakes, like all of the Great Lakes. There's like 6,000 ships that have gone
Oh, yeah.
down.
Edmund Fitzgerald.
Edmund
The famous
Fitzgerald
one.
is one of them.
Well, the other catch on that was a lot of ships were beyond economical repair. And they just took them out and scuttled them. So there's
Well-
a lot down there that is just
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think I wanted to be an archaeologist when I was a kid. I know I did. And wouldn't it be a thrill to, every once in a while to dig up some sort of a,
I always
either a
that was
Roman
always,
boat,
Well,
I
just
really
like
those
in England, they
stories.
raised that big warship, the Mary Rose, that had been built by
Oh.
Henry VIII, and it
Oh, yeah.
sank on its maiden voyage. It
No,
sank.
I
No, no.
never heard
Oh yeah,
that.
it's just now. It took years to restore it. They raised
uh,
it many years ago. It's just now, I think, within the last year that it's been put on. They've built a museum
Yeah.
around it.
Oh.
Where's
and
that?
it's on in
No,
England.
no, that's not true. I
Mary
was there.
Rose.
The Mary Rose was out of Portsmouth. It was fully crewed. It was a flagship of King Henry VIII.
Right.
And for some unknown reason, it's just sunk.
It sank. Yeah.
Now, it did sail before that, too.
It
was
had.
not-
I thought.
no,
I
it was
heard
not.
on his
The
maiden
maiden
voyage.
voyage was the Vasa. That was from King of Sweden. And the problem with him was that the ship designer designed the ship to be so big. And the king said, no, I want it bigger. And the trouble was, it was almost finished building it. So they put another deck on it, which caused the gunnels to be at water level.
Sounds like the same guy that designed the Titanic.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it went out, and it
Never came back.
well, basically, it's right. It did a little, was a little bit of a breeze in there, and the gunnels were open, and
I know the Mary Rose. It was in the news within the last 6, 8, 10 months that they had finally completed the restoration of it.
no, that was
Guns and everything that they found.
No.
have been-
no.
Yeah.
There was an item on CBS News about it.
It was, but when I looked at it, there was no way in hell they're going to do that because they had to go and preserve the wood pieces that they had.
Yeah, how
that
did they
means you had to go
preserve-
in a chamber, and
Well,
they
it's
had
not in water. It's not floating. It's not.
No, no,
but what remains of it is on
okay,
exhibit.
but they had to go in there and put this glycol in there so that get rid of the water and the wood. Otherwise,
Yeah, how
if
do
you
you-
left it out
how
in
do
the
you
open,
preserve
it's just
that?
rot
Well,
out.
did
Yeah.
you see the raising of this ship that went down last year?
that in Italy, the one, yeah,
The Costa
Oh,
Concordia.
yeah.
What an engineering feat that was.
Yeah.
big,
yeah.
big
How they
steel
do it.
tanks
They just
that
Yeah.
can be inflated.
Yeah.
The biggest
And
job
they're
they
going
ever
to
had.
junk it. They're going to junk it.
Well, yeah.
That's all
They're
they
gonna
can
take
do.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
taking over
And they,
China.
there's still a
Italy?
body
The Italian
on
There's a body missing.
yeah.
Yeah.
One? I'm
Just
surprised
one.
there's
No, they found
one
all this
accounted,
one.
unaccounted
one
for.
unaccounted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
they're towing over Genoa. But the Vasa was sort of interesting. It sunk, sat there about 400 years in this neverland of water, cold water, and they found it and they raised it, and it was fully intact. The only thing that came off of it was the paint. So there was arguments to go on what color paint it was and all this type of stuff. But I got photographs of it. I was there and saw it.
Is this in Stockholm or
It's in Stockholm, and it's fully preserved in a.
Voss? I've heard of it.
Yeah.
It's in the
That was a
building.
royal family at that
If you
time.
go up
Yeah.
to Door
Well,
County off
It's
that
pronounced two
Washington
different.
Island,
They got two or three different.
you see a lot of
spellings
that
it,
up
but
there.
Yeah.
There's-
Beside
my,
the
my
ones
nephew was
Yeah.
ex-nephew has a
And,
boat up there, and he
it-
takes people out on diving,
Yeah.
scuba diving
Excavating.
to see. And I don't do that, but in talking to the people that
You'd
he's
never
taken
you'd
out,
never
I
resurface. You'd go
would
down
never
and
know. No.
Oh, the other thing they found is
or it service too quick.
if you're going into archaeology of Lake Michigan, they found a petrified forest under the water,
Yeah.
Wow.
but they won't tell anybody where it's at because of the fact you got too many scavengers around.
Hey,
But
speaking
they
of,
also found the ship of I think Marquette.
oh really?
Canoe?
They also found Judge Crater down there, but they don't,
Yeah.
they didn't want
But
to
they-
publicize
they-
that.
they
He
think-
was.
I forgot the name of the ship, but they found it up by
Mackinac or something.
yeah,
Mackinac.
Mackinac Island.
Back to Mackinac.
Yeah.
Very good.
They're
Very
doing
good.
that race right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
A
It's
friend of mine, he's the engineer on the fireboat, is in that race.
Did
Oh,
it
yeah.
start this weekend?
Huh?
Was it?
Yeah,
Did it begin this
they
Who was
weekend?
had the
it?
parade
Schmidt?
there
Mike,
this weekend.
what the heck is his last name now? Not Kelly.
It's either Mackinac or Mackinac, depending on
short
where
name.
you're at.
Oh.
Dennis Kelly just went there as
Oh.
the captain. Yeah,
Oh.
because
hear
Mike
Mackinac.
Hey,
was there.
can I?
Is he going to Mackinac?
Yeah.
Have them bring back some fudge, will you?
Okay.
Fudge shops up there.
Yeah.
Can I digress for 2 seconds? What state in the Union has the longest coastline?
I know. Michigan
Michigan.
has the most coastline.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
2 peninsulas.
Oh no, Florida, Alaska, California. Yeah.
Well,
It's
Alaska's
Michigan.
got the most lakes.
In the of course,
They estimate 3 million
look at the
lakes.
size of it. Also next to Canada or Mexico, what foreign country is closest to the United States?
Canada?
In place of what?
Next to Canada or Mexico, what country is closest to the United States?
No, the
Yeah,
USSR.
Right, Russia.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
point.
Right
Good
across the
point.
Bering Strait.
Yeah.
Good
Oh,
point.
no kidding.
Sarah Palin sees that all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that she never said
You know
that.
what?
That was
She never said
No,
that.
that was on
No.
Saturday Night.
That-
But they did a number.
But you know what?
Tina Fey said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah, right.
Anywho,
See?
I thought
We got
Sarah
some more-
said something like that.
No.
not quite.
Not quite.
Anyway,
But what's funny about
She
Alaska?
said, I vote in Russia
What's funny
for
about
committeeman.
the language? You go up in
Election, I think.
Alaska.
Yeah.
There's a town called Haida, and the Indian tribe. Indian tribe's called the Haida, and the town's called Haida. It's spelled the same way.
interesting.
And the point is?
It's just idiosyncrasies of the English language.
Oh,
we should-
English has got to be.
We should probably. This administration would probably give it back to Russia. They belong having Alaska
Yeah, right,
because we
yeah.
took
Let
it from
them-
them, cheated them
yeah.
out of it.
Well, Russia
We
took
paid
stripped
what,
everything
$4
out of
million?
they could. They
was
decided
it?
it was worthless, and they sold it.
$7.2 million. I always say we ought to pause and salute a great American who doesn't get
Seward?
the credit, William Henry Seward,
Seward's Icebox, Seward's
Secretary
Folly.
of State under Lincoln and Johnson, who bought it for $7,200,000. They've pulled more than $1 billion worth of gold alone out of Alaska. But he
See, that
was
shows you
ridiculed.
What a bad deal it was.
He
So it
was
wasn't-
ridiculed by the press and by his
Yeah.
political.
Seward's
They called
Folly.
it Seward's
Folly,
Folly, Seward's Icebox. There are cartoons of him carting this big ice, this sort of block of ice labeled
Yeah.
Alaska,
Yeah.
and it showed the Tsar kind of like the Sharpie counting
Yeah,
the money,
counting
like
the money.
he had sold, really
Yeah.
taken advantage of this
Yeah.
rube from the
Can
states.
you imagine
Well,
back
he
at
was-
that time what
the Tsar was broke at the time he
million-
was
Just
born.
think,
Oh, yeah.
just think if that had remained
What-
Russian. Imagine if that was
Yeah.
still, if that had been part of the Soviet Union
Yeah,
during
yeah, right.
World War II.
Well, I bet right now Putin's examining paper documents.
Yeah.
He's going to
Right,
claim
he's
some
probably-
technicality and
But-
say,
But there's
Yeah,
parts
Alaska's part of
of
Russia.
Alaska they could probably keep. That's Aleutian Islands because nobody.
Yeah, two of them. The Japs took 2 of them. Remember?
yeah, Ado and
Yeah,
Kiska.
Atu and
Atu
Kiska,
and
yeah.
Kiska, yeah.
Anyway, Atu and Kiska.
We have a park in Chicago named for Seward.
Seward, well, he deserved.
Seward and-
Well, a lot of the
That's right.
Civil
And
War,
Stanton.
so many of the Civil War figures were honored in Chicago
Lincoln's
parks.
Lincoln's cabinet is
Yeah.
all named,
represented,
parks.
yeah.
Hamlin
Yeah.
and
What did he keep in his cabinet?
liquor.
Liquor.
Yeah.
That was that
Well,
was
yeah.
that was Grant.
Anywho, we got a couple of.
It was great.
But the other one,
Yeah, what was the one about? Someone said to him about Grant. What about his drinking problem? And he says, "I'll find out what he drinks and send every one of my
General
generals.
Lee,
Son of
my
Case Swallows
general.
general.
What was it? What was the punchline?
I'll send every one of my generals a case of it."
They told him you got to fire this general because he drinks. And Lincoln says, "Find out what brand he drinks. I'll send a barrel of it to each of my other generals."
Yeah.
So anyway,
Tell
we-
McClellan to get off his.
oh yeah, he was a pretty boy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a couple other items here we should go over. The Malay airliner recently, the Malaysian
Oh,
shot
yeah.
down.
Oh.
Well, anybody any ideas?
well, the cliche that goes around on the internet is the fact that Putin lost the Olympics, so consequently he went over and stole the
Crimea.
Crimea back.
Yeah.
And the Crimean is right now. Who knows what's going on there? Because there are a bunch of dissidents. I guess is a better way to put it. I don't know if I call them rebels or not, but
Well, what's that got to do with the Malaysian?
they shot it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. How could
That's a
anybody
virtual
shoot
certainty,
an airplane
Well, you know
and kill?
I'm sure they thought they were shooting down a Ukrainian military transport. They were going to
Yeah.
kill a lot of Ukrainian soldiers. That's what they thought. But they were so stupid.
Yeah.
that they shot down a civilian airline. What I say, these guys all celebrate under statues of Lenin, so you should expect boneheaded stupidity out of these people.
Got that right.
And
you don't mean gentlemen,
it
do you?
takes months, if not years, to
Yeah, that's
figure
what they
out
were-
these complex radar-guided missiles.
Yeah.
Well, probably
It's
Russians.
not just like the ones that are on. We've got
Well, they
we've
know
got
it's Russian.
hundreds and hundreds of shoulder missiles here.
Yeah, but you can't hit
And-
you can't
and
hit an airliner
they're-
with one of those
They're
shoulder-fired
right
missiles.
here in
Yeah, it was like
the
33.
United States.
Chief, it was like 33,000 feet.
Yeah,
or
you
so.
can't bring that down with a
That
stinger.
one,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I know
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
got to be that one. But we've got those right here,
Oh, yeah.
hidden somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And all you got to do is go out here and stand on Higgins Road and do.
You could
do
knock
terror.
off. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Knock off every.
But one of the things is, I just heard of someone talking about this. Those stingers have a shelf life. After about 15 years, the mechanism is no longer operative on them.
Oh.
And most of these unaccounted for stingers that they talk about were about 15 years ago.
Oh.
So they think the chances of any of those really being a threat is just about exhausted.
Well, are we going to take a chance?
Well, I know, I
mean, where
understand.
did you get that from?
I saw this. A CIA analyst was on one of the talk shows yesterday discussing.
it was in a magazine. It
That's
says,
what he
trade them in
said.
right now.
That's where I
because they're-
didn't get it. I heard it. I heard this.
It was.
fellow saying
It wasn't
on
like Obama
CBS.
said so.
But you have to question
this was-
the wisdom
this
of
was
any
a
commercial
credible
airline
source.
flying over this part.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a basic.
Well,
But you don't
somebody
know
should be
where the
held
hell
liable.
to fly.
They
now.
shouldn't have been
Yeah.
flying over that area.
Well, the catch
That's
on that
specific.
But
was
they hadn't been warned not to. I mean, no one had. They hadn't
Yes,
been
they
instructed.
were.
It was
not
almost a
to.
common
No.
sense thing.
Yes,
I
they
would-
No, they
were.
weren't. No, there was
Oh,
no.
they
They
were
do not
clear.
have closed. They do not have a closed airspace there. We're not flying over. it.
John, they showed it right on there.
No,
no,
wrong.
no.
All the European airlines have been flying over that area. None of them have closed it down. The United States has,
They
but
won't
most.
anymore.
There are all sorts of European flight pads. They showed it on TV a couple of days ago. They were all crossing over the Ukraine. It's not been
Yeah?
closed off.
Okay.
They were
Yeah,
in perfectly
they-
valid
he
airspace.
had clearance to go. He was trying to avoid some, I think, thunderstorms, some.
Nobody will ever know.
They were
That's
not.
true.
They were not
Yeah,
somewhere that they have
meteorological.
been told not to be. I mean, you can't say, well, it's okay because they shouldn't have been there in the first. That was probably Putin will argue.
Wasn't altitude something to do with it too? How high they were supposed to be, and they were 33,000 feet.
They were
Yeah,
30,000
yeah.
feet. That was normal, I guess.
10,000 kilometers or 10,000
Ukrainians have
meters.
film of one of these rocket launchers hightailing it back to Russia.
Right, one
Several out with one of the rockets missing.
Right.
There are 4 rockets on
Yeah.
the launcher, and it's only got 3.
Yeah.
And they've got film of it being driven back across the border into
Yeah.
Russia.
Yeah, I saw that on TV.
They only leased it for 2 days. See,
No, I think that it's we can all talk about it in the media and all of this and
There's nothing you can do about
but
it.
there's
Not
nothing
now.
you can do about it now,
Not when we-
and
Well,
they just better.
you've got to get an international team to the crash site now. Whatever is left,
late,
that's
yeah.
worth.
Well,
They've got buckets in there now, and they're tearing the plane
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, they took the bodies and they loaded it on a truck and
Think of that. I
Do
mean,
they,
2/3 of these people are Dutch. I mean, the Dutch are hopping mad over
Yeah.
this. They can't get
Well,
their
Malaysians
people,
are the rest
and
of
I
them.
don't blame them for being
Would,
hopping mad
80
about it.
kids, 80 children.
yeah.
Yeah.
Would anyone disagree that no matter what happened here, was the blood is on Putin's hands one
Yeah.
way or another?
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
You know, he gave weapons like this
He
to.
provided the equipment. He trained them in using the
Or-
equipment.
or
He
did they train 'em?
encouraged them and promoted all of this.
But he also was part of the KGB, whether anybody wants to, and he doesn't realize that the Soviet Union is no longer in existence.
Well, he said it was a great tragedy that it
That's
fell.
right.
Yeah.
Biggest tragedy of the 20th century.
Yeah.
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 So he doesn't understand that the world changes.
You can take Putin out of the KGB, but you can't take the
Yeah.
KGB
Yeah,
out
that's
of
what
it.
That's what I said. One day he's head of what was a very murderous, or outfit that did like the number on those Polish officers and Katyn Forest.
Katyn Forest, yeah.
The next minute, he's an Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
You know, this
The
is-
interesting thing is that so far he's stonewalling it. He's not backing down an inch.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
blaming
he's-
it on the Ukrainians, saying, well, if they had control of the... I mean, it takes a lot of guts to stir up trouble in a
Yeah.
border country and then say, well, they can't control their own territory, so it's all their fault.
As I heard Charles Krauthammer say, and I've mentioned this before, he's not Hitler, but he's got Hitler's playbook, just like the Sudetenland.
Yeah.
Well, the
Other
other
places.
Hitler.
It's the same approach.
Yeah.
other cliche on TV or on the internet is he's a Hitler without the mustache and the funny haircut.
And the charisma.
Yeah, charisma. Actually, Hitler had a good
Who's
charisma.
got a better
Someone
build?
once referred to a dictator as Stalin without the charisma.
Great line.
And what do we have?
I'm sure.
Nothing.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that they're very
He's
fearful.
fundraising, you know,
Yeah.
that's
Wait a minute.
important.
They're
Yeah,
very
if he-
fearful of
as soon as he
our
finishes
White
his
House and
fundraising schedule, he's
our
gonna
State
get
Department,
right
aren't
on
they?
it.
They're all quivering in their boots about anything.
Who?
Yeah, but no one knows what's coming next, if anything's coming, you know.
What's that?
Well, our State Department,
Yeah.
we're liable to we're liable to declare war on them or not. You
We'll
know.
write their name on the shithouse wall. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Check that out. The washroom wall, write their name there.
Yeah, right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't say that.
We have a delay here.
That was who's not here today. Who said that?
Yeah.
Are we up for a break? We are up for a break.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Now for a brief intermission. You're listening to Meet the Chicago Historians.
Well, friends, now that the warm weather is here, and now is the time to think about your roof, siding, and gutters on your home or place of business. We could get some heavy rainstorms in the next few months. So be sure the roof, siding, and gutters are in good shape. You don't want mold or mildew in your attic or crawl space, or drip, drip, drip on the ceilings in your rooms, or have your walls damaged by a leaky gutter or bad siding. So don't have double expense. Sooner or later you're going to have to get them repaired. So call Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters at area code 630-616-1359. Mike Besch will drive over in his shiny red truck with ladders on top and Best Brothers Roofing signs on the doors. Mike will look over your siding, roof, and gutters and give you an estimate and go from there. So once again, don't have double expense. Call Best Brothers Roofing for a free estimate at 630-616-1359. That's Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters at area code 630-616-1359. Call today for a free estimate. The number once again is area code 630-616-1359. You won't be sorry.
Now back to our show.
How are you? How are you? We having fun yet, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Subject of what?
Well, we're
Talking about that great humanitarian
Got a
Vladimir
couple
Putin.
other things on the agenda are what about all these southern, they're calling them immigrants now, all these young kids and not so young kids that are coming up the whole length of Mexico through Central America and at our borders all of a sudden. And
I guess the
And word
parents
is
wanted
that
to get
a lot
rid of
them
them.
got a sheet, and
Yeah.
they're gangbangers.
we don't know who a lot of them are, do we?
Yeah. No.
Most of them, we don't know any of them are.
Well, a lot of them don't speak Mexican. They speak the dialect of the Indian tribe that they're.
Well,
Well, they're Colombians, and they're.
what about Middle Easterners? Could a
everything.
Middle Easterner
Yeah.
just as well walk through the border that way?
no, the.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
From the sounds of it, the parents got rid of them. They.
Well,
In
January-
cost, though. you
in
know.
January, the Department of what was it? IOC, Immigration and Naturalization.
ICE.
Yeah,
Immigration and
Central Intelligence, whatever they are, ICE.
Immigration and citizenship is what I
Whatever they did, they had advertisements out for private contractors to help move these thousands that were expected. So what is this? What's this? They're expected. I heard one of the radio people interviewed he was a professor from one of the universities in the California state system, and his name had a Japanese last name, but he said The gist of what he said was they're purposely bringing, he referred to them as peonage, meaning the people, the poorest people, the most dependent people,
Right.
into the country so that they could control their votes later.
Oh,
Do you think that might have some
There's always that rumor going around.
rumor? What about that, John?
Absolutely.
You were in politics, sir. You,
I was just thinking of Groucho Marx in one of the movies where he's talking to this guy dressed up as an Indian, and Marx says, "If you don't like our country, why don't you go back where you came from?"
But this is the problem with the Mexicans. They said, this is our country, so get out. And the trouble was, these are mostly Aztecs.
Send them south and send them
And the
north.
trouble is, they were never up in this area anyway.
try to go into Mexico illegally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
they're very
Ask that Marine that's stuck down there
Yeah.
now. When we had a
Marine.
shotgun in his car or something.
Yeah.
We
He's
don't
been there
have
over-
That's what
guts
I don't
enough
understand.
to get that guy out of there.
If they're from Central America, that must mean they're crossing into Mexico,
Right.
Yeah.
going all through Mexico,
That's what I'm
where,
saying.
where they
Yeah.
share a common language. Why don't? Is there a reason why they don't stay in Mexico and why they come all the way north
Mexicans
to
wouldn't
our
allow it.
border?
Yeah.
Could it be that
Mexicans
they won't?
wouldn't allow
Could
it.
it be
That's
that they?
right.
Could it be that they won't permit that sort of thing?
Well,
The
yeah.
could be.
Mexicans
Could-
don't give them all of the things that we give them
Benef-
for free.
okay.
Well,
We,
they-
You and I give them
You
for
think
free.
that could be a reason?
Oh, I
think that
I
might
just
possibly
I go
have
to
some-
school for that.
One,
Yeah, might have
What's
some-
the age range of these kids? What's the
I don't
youngest?
know.
Are they barely infants?
there's
I don't
some
know.
adults too, but there's an awful lot of kids by themselves.
I
young
think somebody
minors, shall
said
we say?
they were like from 4 years on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
When
how
our
kids-
ancestors came to the United States, there was no welfare state. There were no benefits. You got off the boat,
And
you
you're-
landed
on
at
your
Ellis
own.
Island, and you were on your own.
Yeah.
And that was a different set of circumstances
have a
than what
sponsor.
we have
Yeah,
today.
Right,
you had to have
right.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandmother.
Anyway, I know. As I said this before too, our kids were in grade school, and there were parents there who were they themselves were born in Mexico. Their parents were, and there were people from Philippines, Poland, Ireland, and I think where else. Anyway, I wasn't going to say Puerto Rico like Jane Byrne did, because Puerto Rican, after all, is a citizen of the U.S. But to a person, they all agreed that they did it
Wisconsin.
properly. Everybody should do it properly. They waited in line. They did everything properly to immigrate here. And we make making a big deal as if it's a sin to enforce our laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The governor of Texas has mobilized the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
He just announced on the news today he's going to send the Texas National Guard to the
Yeah,
border.
they had him on.
Stop.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Hannity
Yeah,
spent a
That's
day with
very
them.
interesting.
Good.
Well,
Yeah.
the catch on this
I
was...
hope Arizona does too.
Yeah.
I was reading articles in the paper where they said Texas ranchers, if they left the house alone, they come back, it was ransacked.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a big problem for people that live along the border.
They
in
find all
Arizona
kinds of
and in
all kinds of buried dead, like they were cheated and brought up there and either left to die. You know, they spent all much to get up there. The whatever they call them, coyotes or what are they?
Yeah.
But the other thing was, it reminds me a little bit of the Children's Crusade of the biblical times when the kids, they had a group of kids going down to, I don't know what they were supposed to do, but
that was in the Middle Age. They were
yeah. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact
Pied
is
Pipers
that
and-
I don't
Yeah.
think any of them reached their destination. They all got
the fiasco.
killed
Yeah.
or enslaved or any number of things like that. And I can't see where they got through 1,000 miles of Mexico without having problems, especially 4-year-olds and stuff like that who carried them.
Yeah.
So they had to truck them up to the border and
Right.
throw them out.
If they died on the way, they just, like
Well, and
Jack
then-
says, they just throw them off the truck and bury them and
Yeah.
And-
go
and
on
that-
their way.
And then
life means nothing to those
No.
people.
yeah. Well, now we heard this guy had been a general, or he's still a general in the administration. He said, "What's to stop some of our enemies in the Middle East from getting some other agents up through there who
Yeah,
appear
that's
to
it
be
too.
swarthy complexion, dark haired, whatever. And what's to stop them from, since they have no value for human life, infecting a bunch of the kids with some diseases and send them up? And listen to what we're doing. They come in here. They're written a citation. They must appear in court. They give them the citation, and they go who knows where.
Yeah. And then they get lost.
That really works for me.
They
Yeah.
had said that there was a lot of disease people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these people were diseased and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
had
surprised.
bugs. And
Through no fault of
Also-
their own.
Bugs, I wouldn't be surprised
But,
at all.
They're forcing the parents to pay, and if they don't, they'll cut an ear off and send it back to them and said, hey,
Well,
I mean, it's-
my wife worked at Shriners Hospital. And they said they used to bring kids from various countries, and they come in, they had to delouse them. And the parents came in, they had to relouse,
Yeah,
re-delouse the room after the parents left.
oh boy.
yeah. The warmer
So
the
this-
climate, the bigger the problem is.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
But the other thing I found sort of fascinating was the fact that I met a kid. He was Spanish, from Spain. His parents moved to South America when he was about 4 or 5 years old, whatever it was, and he immigrated to the United States. Now, because of the fact he immigrated from South America, he's considered a Latino, and he's got the rights of a Latino. Now, if he came from Spain, he would be considered white.
European,
Yeah.
He would be considered white and not Hispanic.
Yeah. Isn't that something? A Spaniard isn't Hispanic.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
A Spaniard.
Interesting.
It's just how dumb the whole thing is.
Yeah, it's a dumb
with
dumb-
all race.
Yeah.
The United States, the only place that a tomato is a vegetable.
Well, anything that's the product of a blossom is a fruit, right?
Well, okay, because
No, sure.
what I heard now, a vegetable is part of the plant, a fruit is the product of a plant.
Yeah, the blossoming.
You know,
The
blossom
reproduction
or
system.
whatever, berries. Yeah,
I
basically.
knew a girl named Blossom. And
Okay.
We did have
We
a
don't-
fruit kid.
Ooh, politically incorrect.
Ba-dum,
1,000 lashes.
boom.
We have to have you sent to the gulag to be re-educated. That's what they're doing now, isn't it?
In
Anyway.
the archipelago?
Yeah, in the archipelago. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him, Archipelago. Yeah,
Archipelago.
Archipelago. That was Archie, the comic book,
Yeah,
Archipelago.
they're supposed to be killing Archie,
Yeah, kill
There's
them
something
all.
I heard,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
but they won't really kill him.
Yeah,
He might come
They
back.
killed Superman too, but he came back.
he did that a number of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Anyway,
kryptonite bullet does wonders.
Well, anyway, no matter which way you look at it, I don't know. This isn't the same
It's a
U.S.
screwy
we're
situation.
born in, gang.
No, it
It's,
wasn't.
it's
And
a
it's like-
no-win
it's like-
situation.
Someday, it's almost like the Emperor's New Clothes or something. Somebody's going to say, point it out, and all of a sudden, all these politically correct people are going to say, "Oh, he's right." You know, or
Remember the
whatever.
Bizarro world? Remember
Mm-hmm.
in the Superman comic books? Do you ever get the feeling sometimes you're
Yeah,
you're
or-
seeing touches of the Bizarro
Yeah, or like
world?
through the looking
Yeah.
glass. Everything's bass backwards. I got that one through.
No.
Bass backwards, right?
Yeah,
But-
that's right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that. Can I
yeah.
use that if you like?
Yeah.
Not my own original.
He was a small-time politician.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. He was ward committeeman.
Ran for ward committee.
I voted for him. I liked him.
Well, what'd you rather be, alderman or ward committeeman?
Ward committee.
Yeah.
That was where the power was.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
old days.
Still
Well,
is.
They picked the alderman.
we had a guy out there.
And the judges and everybody
Yeah.
else.
Senators.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We had a guy out there as alderman, and he had to be introduced to everybody. Who's he? Oh, that's the alderman.
Yeah.
I won't say who. That was in a former ward I lived in. So
Yeah.
Illinois is the only
Anyway,
state in
what
the
else
union
you
where
got
going
there,
from the
Jack?
state
Okay,
legislature to the city
okay.
council is considered a promotion.
It's a promotion.
The only place it doesn't in New York if you start out as a councilman and then you go to the legislature.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
here.
Roman Paczynski was a congressman. Then he was wasn't he?
Became
Yeah,
an alderman.
became
Yeah.
an alderman,
He got a real
yeah.
promotion. He became an alderman.
Well, you got to look at you make more money as alderman. It's a
Okay.
part-time
More
job.
power, yeah.
Okay,
More
locally
power.
now.
A part-time job,
Oh.
you're making what, 100,000 a year. And if you show up, it's all right. If you don't show up, it's all right. You know, if you don't do your job, who cares? You know,
Yeah.
some of the aldermen,
Just
I
don't
knew
make
he
waves.
said they never showed up at the
You
office.
stay away from the lake or you won't make waves.
Yeah.
Make no
Okay,
waves.
now locally, we got the governor with his what was that fund he's got out there?
The nonviolence.
Yeah, that
something
walking
or other.
around
Oh.
money scam.
Yeah,
They don't even think it was successful. I mean, you
No,
know,
it wasn't. You
As far
can't
as-
pray for peace and make it work. You got to work for peace.
Yeah.
You know, praying it's not going
All
to do
that
anything
was
for
a
you.
slush fund for all of the thugs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's all that it was.
Let's get the vote out for
That's what the president
Patrick,
did
right?
too.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was a what did you call him before he ran
community
for office?
organizer.
And, yeah, there's another name
Oh.
too, but he was an organizer and
Yeah.
that. It's just to put out all of the money from grants and
yeah.
Yeah.
different things.
Well, the thing about community organizing, it doesn't pay you very much. You come out of college, or whatever, but you're out in the neighborhood, so you move in the neighborhood. So you're out there talking all these issues, talking to people, organizing meetings, talking at meetings. You're getting recognized. So then you can go and run for something.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So you're being paid to campaign in a sense.
Yeah.
I know we had an organization out in the Southwest Side, and that was one of the prime requisites. And we had a few exceptions, but you weren't supposed to live in the area if you worked for them for that very reason, because you had too many people there organizing, and all of a sudden they're a candidate
Yeah.
organizing the community. So
Yeah. Look at the title of Secretary of State. You know, his name was on every driver's license.
God, yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and how many of them became? You know, Edgar is the one I can think of, but George Ryan was also Secretary
Yeah,
of State.
there were politicians
Wasn't he,
in our
now?
history who preferred being Secretary of State rather than governor, because you don't have the headache. The governor has all the headaches.
Yeah.
Secretary of State, you got the free publicity. Your name is on everything, and you
All the shoe boxes?
Yeah, I was going to say Paul.
Paul Powell.
That had to be just unbelievable.
It would take a big man to fill his shoe boxes.
You actually wrote a check out to an individual. You don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, one for me, one for you. Yeah.
Who was
yeah.
Carpentier one time? Was
Charles F. Carpentier. He was
he?
Secretary of State.
Was he a Democrat or a
Republican.
He was
He was
Republican.
Republican.
How many years was that? Was that?
He was in the early 60s, I'm going to say, maybe late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
Of course, in French, that'd be Carpentier.
Carpentier.
Yeah.
The wrestler, Edouard Carpentier.
yeah.
But anyway, who was really Russian and Polish. But did he get some problems too or not? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so. I don't
Paul
think
Powell
he
was
was. I don't
the-
think Paul
I think
Powell
he was a
kinda set the
Republican,
standard.
so
Yeah.
he just left.
Yeah.
Seymour Simon, was he?
No, he was lieutenant governor.
Was he?
No, Seymour Simon. I was thinking of Paul Simon. Seymour Simon was chairman of the Cook County Board.
Yeah.
Board.
Well, Simon's
For a
daughter
short
was
time.
lieutenant governor.
You know, you're talking about Paul Simon.
That's Paul
Yeah,
Simon.
yeah, right. I meant that
Paul Simon and Seymour.
You know,
Yeah. Some.
Yeah, his
simple
daughter wants to run for what, Secretary of State now?
knew
or
people
something?
Paul
Oh.
Simon was really a good guy, wasn't he? I mean, as far as I know, or
He was
no?
very personal. I had a chance. I sat next to him
And
at a function. He was a very personable guy and an
Yeah.
individual.
Oh,
I didn't
one-
agree with his politics, but very likable, personable
right,
guy
yeah.
on a one-to-one basis. We were at a
Yeah.
fourth. I think it was maybe a Memorial Day program once. He was in Cicero. He was a guest speaker, and I had a chance to spend quite a bit of time
Yeah.
talking with him. Very
Yeah.
likable guy.
Yeah.
Wasn't he Orville Redenbacher's stand-in?
yeah, he would. Yeah, he's a dead ringer for
The bu-
Absolutely.
Well, the other guy,
that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
the other guy, a very personable guy, is Daley, Richie Daley. I talked to him one time straight
Really?
face to
The
face.
first Mayor Daley or
Second one.
Richie
No.
Daley?
I met him in a washroom. That's why.
Baby Doc, not Papa Doc.
It's funny. I went to the washroom, and
You
guess who pulled up next to me? It was Richie.
In the car?
But I knew people in politics who always referred to Paul Simon as Simple Simon.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, always heard
Well,
that.
I remember he came out with one pronouncement. I read. He said about the lottery. Well, we should put a ceiling on how much you can win. There's not much a ceiling how much goes in the damn thing, right?
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, that makes no sense either. I mean,
And that was sold. That was a
that was going to be all
canard. If you'll pardon, there's one. There's a word for you, canard.
Canard. It's a
You
lie,
can
isn't
use
it?
it. Well, it could be.
Would that be a lie?
When
canard?
you talk about
How
it,
about
yeah,
that?
it is.
Remember when Adlai Stevenson announced? I think it was his second run for governor. When they weren't sure if he was going to run or not, and he decided to announce by saying, "The sap is rising." Remember that line?
No.
The sap?
Is that-
Oh, no.
He said
Adlai-
meaning that his enthusiasm for
Yeah, it
running
was.
and he said the sap is rising.
Oh, the sap.
And that just destroyed him
Yeah.
because obviously
What a
everybody
sap.
he's the sap is
Yeah,
Adlai
yeah.
Stevenson.
Yeah, you
You're
never
talking
He's
about-
admitting that he's a sap.
Well, there was Adelaide too, right?
Adlai, yeah, no, the third Adlai 3.
Three.
Adlai 3, yeah.
That's the one who was
the son of
the one who ran for president.
yeah,
Oh, the sap
he
is-
was Adlai the second.
Yeah, because Adelaide then was vice
Yeah.
president, ran for vice president anyway,
Right.
his father, right?
So Adlai the third, who was our United States senator for a number of
Yeah.
years and ran for governor twice, I believe, and lost both times.
Both times, yeah.
But the second time
didn't-
he ran, he announced his candidacy by saying the sap is rising. I mean, just destroyed. I mean, he aborted his campaign with his announcement because that was a punchline for the rest of the campaign.
Listen, Sap.
He probably got a note from the opponent saying, "Would you write our?"
It was Thompson. It was Jim Thompson. He was running against
yeah.
Jim Thompson.
Would you write our campaign
Our own
speeches?
campaign
yeah,
stuff, yeah.
because that's a great one.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the trouble is you never say anything to the press because, in fact, they're going to use it to their advantage, not to yours.
You're going to mangle it a little
Yeah.
bit, huh?
Well, you got to look at the mayoral race between Epton and Washington. They were buddies, and there was a quote made before it's too late or something like that.
Yeah,
and,
I think that's what it was.
I got to know Bernie Epton in the legislature. He was a terrific guy.
Yeah.
Bernie Epton was a great guy.
both of them
Great
were.
guy.
Yeah.
Very, very knowledgeable, very erudite. very liberal. He was a very liberal. He was a Republican. He was a very liberal Republican, but he was still a Republican. He wasn't. We had some so-called Republicans down there who were Republicans they were in name only. But he was a real Republican. It's just that his views were. But he was an extremely likable guy. And when he ran for mayor, he was portrayed as this evil,
nasty,
nasty. Yeah. It was just totally divorced from.
He still had slaves,
didn't
he?
Yeah. That's the impression that they gave you. It was just totally divorced from.
And he was about as I don't hate to use the term liberal, but about as open-minded and fair a guy as there was.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I use the term
Did
liberal
he and
because
Washington ever debate?
Yeah.
I think
I'd like
they
to hear that.
did.
Yeah.
I remember Washington came out right. He started talking about Reaganomics. I mean, and then instead of embracing it, Upton says, "Well, you must be talking about the National Republicans." Like he's trying to dodge the thing. Well, you don't do that. You get in and say, "Yeah, this is what this means," because if we're all doing better, we're all better off, right? What is it? The rising tide floats all boats, or something.
Yeah.
No, whatever.
That was Kennedy's line.
I know, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Go back to
Reagan always said, he says, I knew the economy was getting better when the media stopped calling it Reaganomics.
That's a good one.
That's good.
He must have written a lot of his own speeches. Yeah.
You see that thing that they had on him, that he had the cards and
who was that? Reagan.
Reagan
was.
They had a program on the other day all about that.
Cards.
All of his one-liners.
One-liners.
Yeah.
He said, I heard. Well, this is very current. We'll get to the armed forces one of these days here, gang.
Yeah.
But what's all kind of ties in. But we heard anyway, it was whose radio show? Oh, I was listening to Mark Levin's show, which is on WLS radio. It's an old broadcast during earlier in the day, but he compared the 40 seconds that our president now gave to the downing of the liner, the killing of the airliner, to the one that Reagan did about the destruction of a North Korean airliner,
KAL 007,
whatever it was. But I mean, it's totally, and was like our president now, President Obama. He gave 40 seconds and went right into his. Oh, hello, Joe Biden. Good to see you at our Delaware fundraiser. And Reagan, he just, I mean, it was all guns were firing at the beginning.
Yeah.
And of course, President now, he went back the next day and apparently tried to say it all over again.
He was on today. I had the radio on the way over here today. He was giving not a press conference, giving a statement this morning
about
Putin and the Russians.
I'm surprised no one has used the pun Putin on the Ritz. How about that? Putin on the Ritz. That's my own gang.
I always call him Rootin' Tootin'
Was it Bush who
Putin.
called him Rootin' Tootin' Putin?
I've used that. Rootin' Tootin' Putin.
Okay, one more thing we got. How about how are things?
Just one more thing.
Go ahead.
Can I ask you just one more question?
Go.
All right, Mr.
Well, here we go. Here we go. One more thing before we get to our. How are things in murder capital USA lately? Anybody? Chicago.
Where's that?
Well, after all, we only had 11 shootings last weekend. That's down from the 13 of the week before.
We had 40
Whatever
this
it is.
weekend shootings, and
Yeah.
I think 11 dead. And it used to be that you'd get up in the morning and check to see what the weather was like. But
Yeah.
now
Not now.
Now
Sucks.
let's see what the
many
the
people were
murder
bumped
rate is
off
going to
last
be.
night?
Yeah.
How many?
But you
cats?
know,
And it makes no difference
don't-
what neighborhood you're in.
Nobody
No,
cares anymore, though.
No.
I mean, it's whether it's 18 and
not in your
11.
neighborhood.
Well,
Not in my backyard,
one of the problems they get into is what they call straw buyers, or the railroad as such. A lot of these things come from out of state or out of the city anyway, and a lot of them come from Indiana.
What's that?
Guns.
Guns.
Oh, yeah,
It
guns.
doesn't make any difference
They're
where
gonna
they
come in
come
anyway.
from or who buys them or who
They're very-
resells them
very-
and that. It's the guy that uses it.
That's what I object
Yeah.
to, the way the television in particular. They're using this term gun violence. I have never seen a gun walking down the street shooting people. I've never heard of a gun walking
No.
down
I
the
didn't,
street shooting people. If there were arsonists that were out setting fires throughout the city, would they call it match violence?
Yeah.
Or would they call it
No.
kerosene violence? If
Yeah.
there's- It's gang violence. It's criminal
think,
Criminal
violence.
violence.
I think
yeah.
he's
The gun
absent.
is just a tool.
Yeah.
He's absent today, but Brother Tom McKenna made the point very well a few times here about that. A gun is an inanimate object, right?
Yeah.
Take someone behind it.
Someone's got to pull
Take
that
a gun
trigger.
out and put it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll sit there forever.
It'll sit there forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet, the good citizen has been it's been difficult to get a concealed carry permit for them. The recent incident on the Orange Line, which my daughter rides every day, people were stuck up there. As soon as this came out with the Supreme Court ruling about concealed carry should be everywhere and whatever is going and of course Richie Daley said we're going to appeal it. Who do you appeal a Supreme Court decision to? Almighty God, if you can say that anymore?
Northwestern School of Journalism.
Yeah.
Medill?
Yeah, Medill.
New York Times.
That was McCormick's grandfather.
Yeah.
Medill was. Anyway, so now Forrest Claypool comes out, head of the CTA, and says, well, we want the CTA exempted from that, being on the CTA. So let's see, I'm a stick-up man. Where am I going to go? Not supposed to be any guns by the good people on the CTA.
Yeah.
Let's go over there.
Yeah.
Of course, he wouldn't bring in there because it's against the law.
And can you imagine the policeman arresting him? You know, sir, this is against the law. You're not
What's wrong
supposed
with
to
you?
carry a gun.
Oh,
and then
I'm
you
sorry. I
and
didn't
you
know
fired
that.
it 3 or 4 times, and give me the money back.
Poetic justice would be if you have someone on there with a pistol, say an off-duty retired cop, or just a citizen who's got the gun legally, and they turn around and they put 2 or 3 in each one of them, would have been poetic justice.
That happened in New York. That what's the name, Bernie Geltz or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He shot and
Yes.
killed. And
Yes.
Getz.
G-O-E-T-Z. Bernie Getz.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
tried to make him into a bad guy.
They did make him into
Yeah.
a bad guy.
He was
yeah.
hauled into court. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
You know,
yeah.
the only the
and
guy
they
that
attacked him with a
really-
screwdriver or something. He didn't even have
the
a
guy
gun.
that really did a number in New York was Giuliani.
Yeah.
He took the handcuffs off the coppers.
great
and
Yeah.
said, yeah, and said, "Go get him."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
they
get
had,
him,
go
boys.
get 'em.
William Bratton in there as the superintendent,
Yeah.
commissioner, they call him.
I think Rudy Giuliani is one of the great men of our time. I mean, he was a terrific mayor of the biggest city in the nation, and his handling of September the 11th, I mean, just superb.
He was
I
the
mean,
perfect guy at the right
he
time.
was,
Yeah,
he
right,
was
yeah.
just tremendous. I mean, he reassured the whole country that everything was under that there was somebody there that was in
some
control.
They believed him.
Yeah.
And they
He was
believed
out there. He was getting
He
3 or 4 hours
was
sleep.
I still think he would have made a
Believe-
great for political. I think he would have made a great president.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Giuliani would
Make him
make a
attorney
great
general.
president.
or Attorney General.
Of course, we don't have one now.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
Hmm,
this
that one.
racist guy
Anyway,
that's in
oh,
there.
what can you say? You know,
Well, the only thing I know when you hear about racism is if 2 people are having a fight, the white guy, one's black and one's white, the white guy's a racist.
Mhm.
And it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the argument or anything else.
or race alone, even bring a race into something. For example, the situation in the city. Okay, say that whatever percentage, very high, shooters are going to be black or they're going to be Latin kids, gangbangers mostly, right? Guess what? About 90% of the victims are also black or Hispanic people,
Yeah.
or their own neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But then that's never brought out.
Yeah.
Like when they did put Burge away, it was Burge was fired and indicted for mistreating blacks, mistreating the lowest slime if he did mistreat them. I mean, I think I probably was tortured worse by some nuns in grade school than these guys had. I mean, my elbow banged on the
Well-
desk, or my ear pulled out of its socket.
Well, you got to go back to Zimmerman. He shot a black guy. Now,
Zimmerman.
the chance.
In Florida.
Oh, him. Okay,
Trayvon.
yeah, okay.
Okay, he shot a black guy.
Yeah.
They crucified him.
Right.
But now, if the black guy shot him, they would have just
Wouldn't have
passed
heard
it
about
over.
it.
No.
Be a
If the
statistic.
gangbanger
that's all.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, who's talking about racism?
Yeah.
And then he lost his fight with, what was it, CBS or something like that, because they deleted
Yeah.
part
On the-
of
Oh, yeah.
the
Right.
911 call.
Yeah, they
Oh, yeah.
altered the
Oh.
911
And it was
call
said-
to
they
make
said,
it
what is
appear
he?
that
Is
he
he
had
black? He said-
initiated the race aspect.
Like he just
He
said, oh,
hadn't.
he looks black without anybody asking the question.
They asked him.
Why do you do stuff like that? That's the blood is on their hands when they do that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That-
Well, you
it's
don't say
Are you
Nationalism.
suggesting that our
Media.
national media could perhaps be biased?
You don't see
You
any
think?
of the media, especially here in Chicago, mention that the suspect was black or that he was
just
African
a male.
American or that
Yeah.
just a male.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's me and
So you
and
got to
everyone.
use your head.
Well,
Oh
the
yeah,
thing
where's he
is-
from?
Do we want a society where we don't mention race at all?
Yeah. Oh, that'd
who's
be
pure
perfect.
anything?
Well, what's wrong
Yeah.
with that anyway? Is there something wrong with saying what?
well here's the thing.
Well,
I'm just saying.
well, if you're going to use it in a derogatory manner,
Yeah.
I mean, but let's eliminate race completely.
There's- Yep.
Who cares whether how
part of
far
your
back?
description. It's funny, but it's neither. There's nothing inherently bad or good about being with one group or the other. It's all what the individual does, isn't it?
Exactly.
Your own behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Gee, is that revolutionary?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, take a look at yesterday's red eye. There was a girl on there. She was a chess champion, or not, whatever it was. And she says she's the best black, or it's an Afro-American female chess player in the country. So they singled her out, even though there was
That's what we're
thousands of
saying,
people
yeah.
ahead of her.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, she came from school and she's a great chess player, and she's in her sophomore year of college.
That's fine, but she shouldn't have that appellation.
That onus of her being a different color.
I'm the best Irish-German 67-year-old breakdancer in the country, too.
Here,
Is
here.
that right?
Yeah.
You look like you're broken.
Oh, I am very broken. My heart's broken. My back's broken.
Yeah,
But,
right.
anytime,
Well,
I'm housebroken.
too. You're housebroken.
but anytime you got somebody that's black or African American, however you want to put it, they'll pronounce it. I can see why, because black kids need a hero.
Yeah, but they doctor it up so much. It's just nonsensical.
You're listening to Meet the Chicago Historians, and we thank you for it. We'll be right back.
Exhibitors Carpet Service has changed their name to Carpet Warehouse at 4300 West Montrose Avenue in Chicago, and their new location at 440 North Sheridan Road in Highwood, Illinois, called Carpet of Highwood. Stop in at Carpet Warehouse, located at 4300 West Montrose Avenue, and their phone number is area code 773-283-0100, or at 440 North Sheridan Road in Highwood, and that phone number is area code 847-266-1400. For carpets in your living room, dining room, bedroom, den, or family room, stop in at either location for a great deal. Once again, Carpet Warehouse, 4300 West Montrose Avenue, and their phone number is area code 773-283-0100 in Chicago, or Carpet of Highwood at 440 North Sheridan Road, and that phone number is area code 847-266-1400. Remember, if you need a carpet in your living room, dining room, bedroom, den, or family room, stop in at 4300 Montrose Avenue in Chicago, and once again, that phone number is area code 773-283-0100, or at 440 North Sheridan Road in Highwood, and that phone number is area code 847-266-1400 for a great deal on carpeting.
Now, back to our show.
We're a little bit, we're kind of light on people. We wanted some experts coming in. We still want to talk about our armed forces, which seems like they're very underappreciated, maybe until recent years. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't be sitting here being able to talk the way we are. And
Sure, we would. Yeah, we'd be talking.
I know there are those out there that think that we should all lay down our arms. We couldn't talk. We couldn't speak any criticism of the government that way.
No.
We should all lay down our arms. Nobody have any weapons, and everything be peaceful. Kumbaya. And there is a German proverb that says something like, if you want peace, prepare for war.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any big understanding or disagreement of that?
No, the other one was have your friends close and your enemies closer.
Vito Corleone.
Yeah.
Can I take let me give me a couple of minutes. I want to talk about two great American war heroes we mark in the month of July. July 1st, Teddy Roosevelt, Colonel Theodore Roosevelt, and his 1st United States Volunteer Cavalry did their epic charge up the San Juan Heights.
Yeah.
They quibble about the fact that the actual hill that he charged was not San Juan Hill. They were all part of a rise called the San Juan Heights, but it was the great epic event of the war with Spain. He should have received the Medal of Honor for that event in his lifetime. He was recommended for the Medal of Honor because it was a brilliant and heroic charge on his part. Because of politics, because he had criticized the War Department, he did not receive it until posthumously 100 years later. Bill Clinton finally conducted the ceremony where they presented him with the medal. He has now formally been presented with the Medal of Honor.
Damn paperwork.
Yeah.
Takes a while.
But Theodore Roosevelt and his Rough Riders, and on July 2nd, a lesser-known figure, Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain of the 20th Maine, led the defense at Little Round Top in the Battle of Gettysburg, which was the pivotal battle of the Civil War. They had the last spot on the line, on the Union line. They were attacked by the Southern forces. If they had not held out, it is quite probable that the South would have taken Little Round Top, rolled up the entire Union defensive position, and might have won the Battle of Gettysburg, which would have totally changed the war. This one regiment, led by a man who was not a professional soldier, he was a professor at Bowdoin College in Maine, asked for a sabbatical so that he could join the Army. The authorities said no. He said, well, can I have a sabbatical then to do study? Okay, we'll allow you to do that. So then he went and joined the Army anyway, was commissioned a colonel because of his education of a regiment, and they held the line. They fought until they were out of ammunition, and then he ordered a bayonet charge.
Oh, brother.
Something he had read about in a textbook. Because remember, this is a man that's not a professional soldier. He read about, it's called Closing the Garden Gate. So shocked the Southerners that they dropped their guns and ran. And so you had Southerners with guns, with ammunition, surrendering to Union soldiers whose guns were empty. All they had left was the bayonet.
Never heard of this.
He even gave the order to his men to quietly and without a great deal of fanfare to pick up the Southern rifles because they were loaded as they were taking all of these prisoners. It was the pivotal event of the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg, and almost certainly saved the Union's line. I always call him the man who saved the United States of America, because if Gettysburg had gone the other way, he went on to become the governor. He became president of Bowdoin College and the several-term governor of the state of Maine.
What's his name?
Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain.
What state?
Maine. 20th Maine Regiment.
Wow.
It's maybe the only time in our history when one regiment in one place held the fate of the country in its hands.
And they always focus on Pickett's charge, the third day.
Pickett's the third day. Everybody's heard of Pickett's charge,
Yeah.
which was in the Southerners. He was one of the division commanders, and they marched, and they were just annihilated. They marched into a dug-in Union line,
Robert
and
Lee's
they were cut
worst
to pieces. And Pickett later said of Lee, that old man destroyed my division. He was not happy with Lee after that. But Chamberlain is a man that should be known. He should be remembered. Joshua Lawrence
At
Chamberlain.
the time now, I should know, but were most of these weapons the Southerners had, were they actual bullets, or were they flint loading? Was they,
They had several different types of
There
guns.
was, they're all kind. It wasn't like World War II where every guy had an M1. It was there was foreign guns. There was guns that they had raided.
What they could find, huh?
Yeah, whatever you could find. Particularly in
whatever
the
they
South,
had at
because
home.
Yeah.
their ability to produce munitions was limited in the South because most of the big armories were in the North. But the point was, these guys they were charging with the bayonet but they did it. It's kind of a sideways maneuver. It's not a straight on bayonet charge, but kind of at an angle. And it just shocked the Southern. They weren't expecting this. And like something in a battle, in a moment of battle, can have a tremendous effect.
Element of surprise. And,
And he saved the day.
Well, they claim you can still go down to Gettysburg and dig down and you find all kinds of spent ammunition there, balls,
They haven't
all kinds of
dug it
stuff
up
down.
yet. Yeah,
I saw a really well done, it was about a 20-minute short MGM did in the 50s on Gettysburg. And what it did was it had the different actors speaking the voices, had the close-ups on the different statues and more,
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
It's colored. I don't know if it's available on
Rose Hill Cemetery
there's
has got quite an array of Civil War memories and
what is it? Oak
Ridge.
Woods.
Oakwoods.
Oakwood's got 6,000 Confederate prisoners of war who died at Camp Douglas.
They have,
We took a trip down up the Mississippi from New Orleans, stopped at a couple places that had the battles.
Vicksburg, maybe?
Vicksburg was one of them. couple of other places, and really that area, because the Union wanted to capture Mississippi River to stop any flow to the south.
Right.
And they did a pretty good job. It was sort of fascinating how some of that stuff took place. But the other thing, locally, Andrew Dunning was a 3-time vet from the Civil War. He joined once. They used to do 1-year services that time. He went as a foot soldier, then he went as a non-com, then he went as an officer. So he got wounded, I guess, once or twice, and he returned, and nothing ever was said after that.
If
All right.
I could say one more thing about one of my favorite heroes, Theodore Roosevelt, to show you the impact that the charge up San Juan Hill had on his career, a year after the charge at San Juan Hill, he's governor of New York. The year after that, he's elected vice president of the United States. And the year after that, he's president of the
Yeah.
United States.
They were trying to bury him as vice president.
Because they thought it'd be, but
Yeah.
and before that, he was a former assistant secretary of the Navy, police commissioner of New York, and New York State Assemblyman, which is nice offices, but
Yeah.
were not
Nothing.
of the
Yeah.
level.
They're not
That
national.
one event just transformed.
Yeah.
He became the national
Well,
hero.
Yeah.
he also went out of his way to make himself to be the outdoorsman. The you know,
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He started
yeah.
the National
He liked
Park
the-
System.
Sure.
He started the
Thank God
National
he did,
Park
'cause
System.
we
Because he was
wouldn't
from-
have had a
he was from
teddy
wealth,
bear when
correct?
I was a kid.
Oh, he came from a very wealthy family.
Yeah.
One, may have
your-
been one of our wealthiest presidents because the Roosevelt, both he and
Yeah.
they're doing a series this fall. Ken Burns doing a series about Theodore and Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt.
And Eleanor, yeah.
But
Where,
Teddy was
where
a-
he was born is the building has been
Sa-
preserved. He was like 29th Street or so.
Oh yeah, in New York
And
City.
you know what else?
Holy
happened?
moly.
His wife and his mother
Mother
died
died
on the same day, St. Valentine's Day.
Was the St.
He's
Valentine's.
in New York in the State Assembly.
Really?
He gets
The very
word.
same day?
They died on the
Yeah.
same day. He gets word. He gets a wire to come home.
Man.
And when he comes home, I think it was his brother greets him and said, "Theodore, your wife is dying on the first floor, and our mother is dying on the third floor."
Unbelievable.
And they both died within that same 24-hour
Yeah.
period. Yeah.
In fact, was it
His
did
young
his
wife.
wife die
Young
in
wife.
childbirth?
Yeah. No.
No.
She had what's called Bright's disease, which
What
was
is
an
that?
infection of the kidney, I believe.
Oh. I
think you're
Kidney, I
right,
believe.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, so they already had. What was the daughter's name?
Alice.
Alice.
Yeah, she was, and his wife's name was Alice. The daughter was named for his
Yeah.
wife.
Oh, yeah.
God, can anybody go through more of a
Imagine
tragic
losing
state than that?
Well,
and he was very close to his mother. I mean, a very close family, and
Oh, yeah,
loses
they were
both
all-
of them
Yeah.
in the same day.
That's when, Chief. That's when he went out west. Then he had
Yeah.
to sort of find
Yeah, he
himself.
gave everything up. That's
He
when
gave
became
everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
Well, and
And
he got all of the national parks out
Yeah, he
there.
started-
He was
Yeah.
the guy that
He
was
started
the-
Yellowstone
the big
Park,
thing
yeah.
behind
Yeah.
all
He
of
was,
the
uh,
parks
that
out
scene.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was also
Great man.
he volunteered. He wanted to get active for World War I believe.
He wanted to raise a division. Where he'd raised a regiment in the Spanish-American War. He wanted to raise a division in World War I. And Woodrow
Wilson
Wilson,
wouldn't
who
do
I'm
it.
not a great admirer of, because of politics, he was afraid that this would increase Roosevelt's political stature, refused to allow him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a war effort. You would think that you would want the support of everyone in the
Yeah.
common, but he flatly refused to
Well,
allow
Yeah.
him.
Wilson wanted to stay out of the war anyway. Yeah, he sort of
Well,
got forced.
This
into
was
it.
when we were in war. Once we were in the
Okay.
war,
I don't know if
Will,
that's true or not.
Roosevelt
Yeah, I
thought
don't know either.
that he
Yeah,
that everything would be forgotten in time of war, and it would be all pulling in the same direction.
Why don't we get in it sooner or not get in it at all?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan you were fighting.
No,
What was the difference between Germany and the other powers? Were, when they
When
made Germany into
when
the Huns?
they killed the Tsar.
Yeah, I mean,
Or not the
Huns.
Tsar, but
It wasn't.
That was
The
different.
Archduke.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was it.
That really
And that
had
just
nothing to do.
happened.
we
what,
just
100
celebrated
years?
the 100th anniversary of that,
Yeah.
June the 28th.
yeah.
You know,
But the Archduke was killed. It didn't. Caused the war to start, but it really didn't
Triggered
have
it.
anything to do with the war.
The thing that I find
No,
appalling,
it-
they're building a statue of the assassin. The Gavrilo Princip was the
Princip, yeah.
terrorist. We would call him a terrorist.
terrorists.
A student,
who killed-
according to some
And they're
books.
erecting a statue of him in Sarajevo and another one in Belgrade because to the Serbians he's considered a hero.
Hero.
Right.
He committed
Yeah.
not only murdered the Archduke's wife, cold-bloodedly killed
Oh,
the
yeah,
wife.
he killed
and
both.
whatever argument you can make about politically, I mean, I think it was totally unjustified, both of them. But to kill the wife
And
Yeah.
For
yeah,
what
yeah,
possible
yeah.
and to erect a
Sending a
statue.
message.
It's like erecting a statue of Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Good comparison.
Did you ever hear the little background on that? He was part of a group. I think it was only about
Yeah.
3 people,
Yeah.
and they each had about 3 bullets or something.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we'll assassinate." So, well, where are we going to? Well, there's a bridge there. We'll get on the alongside the bridge, and it's narrow there, and well, they couldn't get to the bridge. There were too many people, so they sort of gave up. And then when the Archduke is leaving, he's going to the next town. His driver makes a wrong turn.
That's right.
And
He
he
turned down the
stops,
wrong
right in front of
street.
turned on the wrong street, and who's standing there with his gun in his belt is Gavrilo.
And he
Gavrilo.
stopped right at the
Stopped
point where-
right
where
there.
he's
He stepped on the running board and bang, bang,
Right.
3 bullets and
cold-bloodedly killed
What
the
happened to him? Did he
Archduke
get
and
killed
his
in the
wife.
process, or-
No, you know what happened? He died of. He never was tried. He died of TB in the.
He was
Serbia
tried, but he
was-
died in prison.
He died in
prison,
prison,
yeah.
and also
during the
one of-
war. It was before.
Serbia was an independent country at the time. Serbia was. But
yeah,
I mean,
Austria. The war began July the
Smaller
28th.
version of
Austria
Serbia.
declared war on Serbia.
Yeah. Well, Serbia
And
was
Russia declared
part
war
of
on Austria
Austria-Hungary,
back and
though,
forth.
No,
wasn't it?
Serbia was an independent country.
they
Oh,
were.
I didn't know
It's
that.
much
Independent
smaller than
kingdom,
it
yeah.
is.
In
Oh,
some papers it
yeah.
says Servia with a V.
Yeah, you see it as
Yeah,
Serbia.
that's true.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
Anyway, gang,
And, yeah.
We gotta say something about armed forces.
Austro-Hungarian,
Huh?
Austro-Hungarian Empire as such was corrupt as hell, but there was a lot of people here. Well, they claim it depends on who you're talking to, but
I'm
anyways,
shocked.
I'm
they
shocked.
did a lot because you go down there and it's really a nice area to go to in the world. You got Prague, Vienna,
Beautiful country.
Yeah.
Budapest.
Transylvania's there.
Franz Josef was probably one of the most beloved and popular monarchs who ever reigned
Yeah.
anywhere in any
And
And
I
he
country.
think
was
the
around for
Archduke
a
had a
long
good liberal.
time,
I mean, he
too.
was considered an
One
enlightened.
of the reasons they
yeah.
killed him was because he wanted to put in reforms. He
Yeah.
wanted to do things that would have improved conditions. That's one of the reasons that
encouraged
they killed him.
independence
They
among the
wanted
Serbs,
things
yeah.
to get bad so they
Get more
would stir up trouble.
or
Yeah.
more save for the common.
Well, the other one was the Tribune that was McCormick, not McCormick. Who was it?
Robert McCormick.
No,
Yeah, Robert McCormick. He thought it would be good for newspaper sales, so he was encouraging the war also.
Well,
and
that's the
a lot.
Spanish-American War now.
Yeah, well,
It's like Harston and
Yeah.
Pulitzer in Spain.
yeah.
Anyway.
They also wanted, and there was also a lot of manufacturing giants that wanted the war because of the
Should I
fact that it'd be
poke
good for manufacturing.
It's
So
a
it was
time
not,
for me to poke him now.
Army,
Yeah.
Navy,
Army.
Marines,
I was-
Coast Guard, Air Force.
Yeah, I was in
5
all,
branches,
all
right?
all 5.
Boy Scouts?
Boy
Now-
Scouts.
Yeah.
4 of the 5 owe their origin to right around the time of the Revolution. I'll bet the Air Force isn't one of those.
Right.
Do you think that might be true?
No. Yeah.
I think you could be right.
Yeah.
I don't think Washington had too many planes. In
Or
the-
even
They had a
I
couple
don't know.
balloons.
Yeah.
Could have, but they didn't.
Civil War. They
Didn't
had
make you
balloons.
use of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But we all know the Army Air Corps.
yeah, well, it's
Nothing
they-
can
they
stop
worked
the
with
Army,
it.
the Air
Yeah.
Corps. Those
That's
songs
right.
were
Fred
written.
Waring
Now,
song.
the Army-
The original lyrics. Nothing
yeah.
can stop the
Started with
Army.
the
Air
Continental
Corps.
Army.
Yeah, that was about
The
1912 or so that they actually started this type of stuff.
What will you say, Jack?
The Army started from the Continental Army, and the 1775 was made official.
The
and
United
Navy-
States Army is older in a sense than the country itself. 'Cause
Yeah.
The United
Yep.
States Army
That's
was
fair.
created in 1775.
Yeah.
June the
Oh,
14th.
yeah.
It's on the Army flag.
And then
Oh.
we had the Navy came right shortly thereafter with people like John Paul Jones and John Barry as early.
Oh, again,
Early
you gotta look at it. What was the Continental Army? The Navy in general, they had privateers and everything else going on, so it was not really an official Navy
Well, so
per
did
se.
the Brits. Brits
Yeah, I
were
know.
big on privateers, right?
Well, they also had a standing Navy also because Lord Nelson and his ship and everything else. So that was
Did you ever hear about the first Secretary of the Navy?
Who?
I don't know who, but anyway,
What about him?
Washington, Congress appropriates money to build 2 ships, and they tell George Washington, the president, well, now it's you're in charge of them. So he says, oh, okay. So to nominate someone, he puts an ad in the paper. Yeah, right.
Apply for the job, huh?
Yeah. In Washington, what was it, New York and Boston,
Philadelphia,
I think.
probably.
Philadelphia, maybe, and he's
Exactly.
wanted man to take control of 2 ships.
First cabinet only had a secretary of the first cabinet of Washington did not have a secretary of the Navy. There was just a secretary of war who
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
head of the army.
Yeah, and they didn't have any ships. So he said, somebody applies, and he said, okay, you're in charge of the ships. Now you're going to be the first Secretary of the Navy.
What's the origin of the Marines?
The Marines.
Around the same time he went
They
to
go
be
back
the.
to War of Independence.
And they
I
were-
see the Marines. They whatever year it was right around that Continental Congress, and for a brief time they must have been decommissioned and recommissioned right again, because they were. When I looked up, my printer wasn't working. I have all this.
Part of
It was
the
based
Navy.
on the British because the
It's part of
British
the
had the
Department of
Royal
Navy.
Marines. So
Yeah.
the idea, it was the idea of naval infantry. You had infantry that served at sea.
It's the Department of Navy's Army.
When
Yeah,
we
right.
when we started to go outside the United States, they needed some way
Yeah.
to get there
Yeah.
by boat,
Yeah.
and so the Army wasn't prepared for that.
Mhm.
So the Marines came in.
Well,
Yeah.
the one that's
But they did work
And
in
that
the
was, that's
Revolution.
part of the Navy then, right?
Part of the
Oh,
Army,
yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
Marines
Are
are
they
part of
still
the
part
Navy.
of the
Oh
Navy?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
Department of
that's
the
right.
Army, not the Navy itself. It's a
Oh,
separate-
yeah.
But very
Yeah.
mobile.
You never tell a Marine that.
If you want it, I think you go to Annapolis, graduates, a certain percentage of Annapolis's graduates go on to the Marine
Yeah,
Corps.
Marine
They don't
Corps.
all go into
Oh.
the Navy. They go.
My brother-in-law went to Annapolis, and he
Yeah.
ended up in the Marines and then the Air Force.
Oh.
the one that's sort of
Couldn't
fascinating.
make up his mind.
Yeah, yeah.
The one that's sort of fascinating was the War of 1812, where they built ships for the war in Lake Champlain, I believe it was. And they had no ships. They carried the cannons all the way across land. They had to cut the trees down and everything else locally to build the ships. And they built the ships and defeated the British. And you look at it was just fascinating how they could. It was green lumber. Most of the time, when you build a ship, you let the lumber
Dry.
age,
Yeah.
and stuff like this. Is all green lumber.
time they couldn't wait.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
they built these ships. They armed them and everything else, and they defeated the.
Yeah,
British
was that
Navy.
was that Farragut on that?
I don't remember.
Farragut is Civil War.
Was Civil War?
Yeah.
Civil War.
But they-
David Glasgow Farragut.
I would
Yeah.
think that green lumber would
Damn
be the
the
thing to
torpedo.
do
Full
on,
speed ahead.
Full
on
speed ahead.
ships, because if you had dry wood, it'd soak up and.
But they
No.
also take the dry and then they coat it, varnish it, or whatever too.
Yeah.
Before they,
No, they
I know what they did
caulked
back
it and
in
everything
those
else.
Preble. We had there was an admiral named Preble who I think was the commander in the battle
don't
on
recall.
the lakes.
Yeah.
Preble. Preble.
Okay, but either way, he built.
Commodore. I don't know if they had,
Yeah.
it wasn't admiral. It was a
But
Commodore.
they
And
used
that's
to what
a
they
rank
call.
that-
yeah, they didn't have admirals.
They don't
we
even
didn't
use
have
that
admirals
rank
in the U.S.
anymore,
Navy.
Commodore.
They used to caulk the ships, so they had to go out there with something or other to caulk the ships. Usually it was.
They went to Home Depot and
Yeah,
they got
no,
the
Yeah.
caulking
there was
done and-
all kinds of things. They had caulkers up there with a hammer and a chisel and shoving in the
Okay.
sulcrum. What is it?
Tar, pitch.
Oakum.
Tar.
Oakum.
Oakum.
It's
Yeah.
tar.
Oakum.
So they sit there and
Pledge.
it was all put in there. How lucky they got with that, I don't know, because it's green lumber, so it would shrink.
The
And then it would expand, shrink, and all this
Coast
stuff.
Guard.
So all
Coast
kinds
Guard
of
now
problems.
is also a naval force, but it's always localized. I think they're
And
well,
that's real old too. Is that before
That goes
the
back
country?
to Alexander Hamilton.
1790
Alexander Hamilton, as secretary, he was part of the Treasury Department,
for years. Yeah.
and it was called. It wasn't at first. It was called, I think, the Revenue Service. I think it was called the Revenue.
yeah, I
it
know
was
there was a
It
revenue
was supposed to
service.
enforce customs and
Yeah.
Smugglers.
shipping, smuggling,
Yeah.
that sort of.
Yeah.
That
But they
was-
were also armed, and they were.
Oh yeah, they were
in
armed.
time of real war, like
The
World
term
War I and
Coast
World War
Guard
II,
wasn't used at
they're
first.
detailed to the Navy. I had two uncles who were in the Coast Guard.
Oh yeah.
One of my dad's youngest brother and my mother's younger brother, and they actually met in New York separately from each other. All the people are there. They sent back and everything, but they were both in the Coast Guard, which was under the Navy at the time.
Yeah.
Were they
That was very busy during
hooked in
Prohibition.
with the Merchant Marines?
No.
Merchant Marine was a
That was
civilian,
that was not an armed
Yeah.
force. So
Yeah,
it's just,
No, I didn't say it was.
Yeah.
I-
But
I
they're not,
just-
no.
You know,
It was
the
the
Coast Guard
civilians.
did one hell of a job at Katrina. They
Yeah.
they think they rescued maybe some 30,000 people
Yeah.
because they were told, "Here's your assignment. Go ahead and do it."
Yeah.
There was no
we have
no
we have a
guidelines.
guy on our board of the museum who was a Coast Guard guy,
Who's that?
John Hedfield.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
I think in World War II, a lot of the landing craft were skippered or Coast Guard men
Coast
were at
Guard
the
men were
controls.
controls,
of,
yeah.
of
Semper
LSTs.
Paratus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Marines is Semper
Fidelis.
Fidelis.
Fi,
Fidelis.
and the Coast Guard is Semper Paratus.
Always
yeah,
prepared.
but
Always
the the Marines didn't really do much action at all in European war. That was in the
World War I, no.
World War
I
One.
mean, World War II.
Was
Right,
Pacific.
they were in the Pacific for
I don't
most
know if
part.
they're funny,
They had the
Yeah.
Army Rangers did most of the damage.
They were in World War One.
As such as they were.
Yeah.
Jimmy Cagney and
Ed
Yeah.
Kugelman's son-in-law, who's buried at Rose Hill, right by Ed. He was a sergeant, a Marine sergeant,
Yeah.
and he was killed in World War One.
World War
Well, that
One.
play, and there's 2 movies of it. What Price Glory? They
What
were
Price,
Marines
yeah.
in World
Right.
War One. They were in
Yeah.
Katyn Forest or whatever it was.
Katyn, yeah.
Katyn, I don't know where it was there.
Belleau
Anyway,
Wood. Belleau Wood. was
Belleau,
the
there you go.
Big Marine.
Bellewood, and
Yeah.
you probably would too.
In fact, they changed the name of Belleau Wood is now the Belleau des Marines. The French changed the name after that in honor of the American Marines.
There's
Yeah.
what is the name of that?
Bois
the
de
street that
Marines.
Eddie Schwartz was on when he was in the nursing home out there. Ballard and Route 12, Rand Road. There's a monument to Belleau Woods.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, I
that's
didn't
where
know that.
that's where Ed Kugelman's
Yeah.
son-in-law was killed.
Yeah.
Bellewood.
The other one that's still alive is one of the Cullertons, Bill Cullerton. He down in Florida. He was a World War II ace.
He just passed away.
Oh,
by the
did
way.
he?
Yeah, about a year ago or so. He used to do a radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you say we've got to cut.
Yeah.
Anyway, that brings us down to something we got to mention. And the Air Force became its own service in 1947, bringing in the Army Air Corps and whatever before. And I think that largely to a guy named General Billy Mitchell,
Yeah.
who was very visionary, and he was a very, I guess, considered a troublemaker in the times he
Yeah,
did say.
he did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was speaking what was the truth when
Yeah.
coming that way.
They didn't
Well,
want
they don't want to hear the truth.
No, yeah,
I know,
exactly.
yeah,
they
that's
didn't want to
right.
hear the
You
truth.
can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't handle the truth.
For example, he
I
said
heard
that
someone
an
say
airplane
that
will be
in
able to sink a battleship someday.
And they said, you're crazy.
Yeah, and then, well,
Well, I think he was also the one who started the dilution of the oil on the planes so they could start up in cold weather. They have big planes. The old reciprocating planes have a dilution oil can there so that they could start the big engines in the
So
wintertime.
It's thinner, huh?
Yeah,
The
it's
oil is
thinner. And
oil.
so then it burned off, and they
Yeah.
would continue going.
It's
There was a
He was court-martialed over that.
a movie.
What-
was it Gary
Court
Cooper?
Court martial of Billy Mitchell.
Court
yeah.
yeah.
it
One
was,
of the problems with Billy Mitchell, though, was, and they don't often bring this out, is that he went too far in what he said. He said that, in effect, we won't need a Navy anymore. We won't need an Army anymore. Air power will do it all.
Yeah.
If he had said we need air power in addition to the Navy and the Army, he might have gotten a little further. But he was
Yeah.
implying that ships, troops, they're all obsolete. Planes are
Yeah.
going to do everything.
Yeah.
And that's what engendered a lot of the hostility against
Yeah.
him.
Anybody
Oh, it's the
that
fiefdoms.
says their mind, and Jack knows who I'm talking about, he was fired by this gal that just got dumped as the head of the airports here in Chicago. What the heck is her name?
And
oh, you're talking about
Anna
and-
Jolini or
and-
something like that.
Andolino or something.
Andolino, yeah. And Jimmy Maurer
Maurer.
said his piece. This is what we need at the airport.
yeah.
We need manpower. We need this. And we need
Yeah.
that. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a consummate policeman.
Well,
Yeah.
you got to.
And he got fired.
Yeah.
So Billy
Well,
Mitchell and him have got something.
Well,
in
yeah.
common.
well, they-
Anybody working for a city, I mean, you work for a city government, you know.
Yeah.
If you're my boss, I can say, hey, we need this,
Yeah.
But you don't go calling up the newspaper
There was
saying,
a
this-
few
There's
commissioners
a
that got fired.
procedure of how
There's
you
a
do this.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you're really restricted, to
Yeah.
But
what
the
you can say.
If it's
All
not
the
their
military
idea
is worse.
too,
yeah.
then it's no. If it's your idea, it's no good.
Yeah,
it's got to
right.
be their idea.
Yeah, you got
The
to
trick is
convince
to
them.
persuade the boss that it's his
His
idea.
idea.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
there was a saying.
Tell me about it.
One of the old timers told me. He said, "Remember, kid, he may be wrong, but he's still the boss."
yeah,
That's
right.
what you
You
have to
see
know.
this
Oh,
in
yeah.
Hogan's Heroes all the time, where
Yeah.
Hogan finally in Klink will say, "Oh, I'm glad I decided to do this, Hogan.
Yeah.
See, I'm much smarter than you are."
Yeah,
Colonel,
yeah,
you
you're
really
right.
figured
Yeah,
it out.
yeah.
But the old cliche on both the Navy and the Army, bigger is better, or the Air Force the same way, bigger is better. Because the A-10 fighter or attack jet,
Buster.
Tank Buster, is a great ship. The Army loves it. most of the guys in the Air Force like it too, because the fact is it's built to take punishment.
The hog,
Yeah, and they're getting rid of it because of the fact that the Air Force never liked it, but Congress forced it on them.
Yeah, the Army loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, the Army loves it because it's loiter time is great. You know, they get F-16s, F-18s, or whatever the hell you're throwing up there. They go over once and they're out of fuel.
Kenny,
Yes, sir.
do you have, you were in the Army.
Yeah.
Do you ever keep in contact, or did you ever keep in contact with any?
For a while, the first couple of years, and then it. Part of the problem there, I was out in the state of Washington,
You gotta wind it up.
and so
Yeah.
most of the people were from the West, and so they're not natives. They're only just a few people from Chicago, and
this
we never.
ring that I wear is.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
There was only 8 of us. There was 10 of us in the unit that I was
Yeah.
in, and the 8th guy that died. There's only 2 of us left now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the woman, we used to meet once a year.
Yeah.
And this woman, would collect
Would
$100
collect.
from everybody and
Oh.
put it, and then she bought us these rings.
Oh,
And boy, I really.
have we got a minute, or are you
We've
closing
got
up?
about 45 seconds or something.
Well, I'm just going to say, one of my sons volunteers at a suburban library, and they were collecting books, which they resell, for the benefit of the library. And a book comes up and it says, Fort Lewis, 1953.
Oh, there you
And he looks through the book, and there's my picture in there.
No
And I didn't know. I never knew the book was
Wow.
ever out there. And he
that's your
he gave it to me.
that's your days in there. Huh?
Yeah.
that's yeah.
That's
You got it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
I'll bring it in
That's great.
sometime.
On that happy note, we have to wind up things today, and we didn't spend as much time as we did on the armed forces. We'll have to do it again
Let's do it
some
next
months.
Yeah.
And but we all owe a debt to them, and not just on Memorial Day or whatever else. We're all here because of the men and women who served and those who served and gave all. And God bless all of you, and be safe. And everyone else out there, remember that history is much more than a book you keep on the shelf.
Yeah, one of the guys I served with me.
We want to thank Kevin, manager of Jack FM 89.7, station WRHS in Norwich, for broadcasting this program over the Ridgewood High School radio network. Listeners can access our recorded programs and a large number of other shows on the internet at WindyCityHometown.com. Thanks for listening. This is your announcer, Rich Lang. Goodbye until next month.
You have been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, July the 21st, the year 2014. This broadcast was produced by Jack Ryan, directed by John DeVita, edited by Stephen Lehman, and our audio engineer, James Rohde. The executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network is Mr. John Seconda. Until next time, be safe, and thanks for listening.